Yeah, nice. I may miss the 4th of July one. We got this city manager selection thing, and everything's going to circulate or coalesce around the 4th, 5th, 6th, 5th, 6th, 7th. It sort of screws up driving to West Texas. I don't know.
Right. That's good, everybody. Look this way. What do you say? What is it? Oh, come on. You can be louder than that. Oh, that would be great. You want us standing? Or did you want us like this?
Yeah. Let's see.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Head up.
Okay, guys. Everybody up there.
Everybody.
Wow.
Oh, here. I'll tell you what. Let me just come over here. I'll stand right behind the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thanks.
He's like,
Let me know when you want to get the other.
Yeah.
Okay. Cheers. I've got some time tomorrow in the afternoon if you want. Then the rest of the week I'm but until the weekend. I don't see the eyes. Yeah, I don't see the eyes. Just let me know.
Maybe I'll-
You got my number. Just let me know. Okay. Next week is probably going to get better for me anyway.
I got you on a string. I know exactly where you are. Oh, no, sorry.
now we have the eyes.
Gary, get put to work. Finally. Wow.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Totally lost.
You do?
Huh? Yeah. Yeah, pretty sure.
Okay. When's this case set?
You got no idea.
I just thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, I do. Maybe tomorrow.
No, Mama has not a blonde hair.
She had a good one too. That was
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, everybody, we're live. Don't say anything stupid.
Okay.
Or if you want to, do it. How far did you come out?
Coming home on the plane last night.
Oh, the light, yes. I didn't. There it is. That's the oil. Good. They got two. Uh-oh, that was almost.
What was this for Miss Ma'am?
That's so cute. Nice. Good.
How are you? Good to see you. Thank you for trying to find the perfect place for me to sit. Maybe just put it up here. Oh yeah. I can. Well, unless I move the owl. I can if I move the owl.
Hey, Chase. Can I get you to take the oath for the first so that we can be
Okay, yeah.
I repeat what do solemnly swear that I have not directly nor indirectly
You solemnly swear that I was not directly or indirectly
paid off or promised to pay,
paid off the promise to pay,
contributed or promised to contribute
contribute your promise to contribute,
any money or value or promise any public office or employment for the giving or withholding
or promise to fulfill, giving or withholding,
of a vote at the election in which I was elected,
at the vote for the election that I was elected,
or as a reward to secure my appointment or confirmation,
or as a reward for my appointment or confirmation.
whichever the case may be. So
So help me God.
that one will be the regular.
Voice of yeah.
Can I get you to sign it?
Sure.
No.
Go ahead and make that. Work out. And you'll be taking the food with everybody else.
Trying to make it look as chill as possible.
Yeah.
Tim, how's that spring over there?
Hey, Brad. Hey, Jamie. I guess I'm getting paid a $63 million invoice and it's still so. I got no idea.
You want it unfolded?
It would be nice. Yeah, what'd you ask? Right here. They're not connecting.
Hey guys, this one's not working.
I know. That's what we're
Trying to work out.
Yeah, but I don't know if the iPads aren't connecting. I don't know.
It didn't fully function at coffee either.
I don't know where Tom is.
Oh, it's coming on Xfinity. Or is that a new screen? If you would like, I can move the laptop in front of you. It looks like you might just need to toggle the screen a little bit.
But the here, but isn't it this one?
Mm-hmm. Restaurant.
But it's not.
Yeah, this was giving me a problem ever since the shutdown.
I don't know, it maybe a Tom issue.
I can move it in front of him.
There you go. That's really pretty neat. That's really pretty neat.
Yeah, if you see something about to. Yeah.
And you're gonna introduce Herman and
Cecily.
Cecily.
Yeah.
You like to ad hoc it a bit here, right?
Is this you?
Yes. That will be me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
As you should. All right.
Huh? Something's wrong, so they're improvising. They took a page out of the Don C. Matter Book of Engineering.
You're welcome.
He should be, yeah, because there's an agenda item on the road. So yes. So it's he's doing this one's mine. Well, no, that was mine.
Where's mine? Mine had a good one.
This one's no, mine had a clip. No, okay, maybe yours had it. My clip's right there. How's that? So yeah, we're doing the. Let's see. Hang on a sec. Awarding the bid proposal for the sidewalk expansion at David Brown.
You know what? Actually, Freddie, this is a test run. Her laptop is plugged into what? Laptop one? Can you see if I press laptop? Doesn't matter. How are you, sir? That didn't work. I tried. Oh, it did.
It just did.
I fixed it.
You fixed it.
Woo! Thank you.
You want to leave it as it is?
You
I
gonna
would.
move that laptop now?
I would. Just
I got you. I'll move it up. This is so much fun, you guys. Oh. I'll clean it up. Tuck it in there. You good? All right. And if he's looking for the, okay, whatever you want.
Just so it's out.
But that's not your sitting room. Yeah.
I want to start our event tonight, and we started early because we have a few special things that are going to occur. But first, let me Let me bring us to order here. This is notice of the City of Nassau Bay, the City Council of the City of Nassau Bay that is posted pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act. Notice is hereby given that the City Council of Nassau Bay, Texas will conduct a regular meeting on June 12th, 2023 at 6 p.m. at the Council Chambers, City Hall, 1800 Space Park, Suite 200 of Nassau Bay. We've been called to order, and I believe we are all present, but Ashley Graves, I believe Ashley is absent, but I think she's got something here as part of the mission. I think she has some things that she'd like to say upon her leaving her position. But in any event, I'm going to go a little bit further. We're not going to have an invocation tonight. I'm going to go right into the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor to Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. So this beginning portion is really meant to be both a celebration of new people coming out and a celebration for the services people have had. And it is one where we're first going to do a process where our city attorney for the three individuals, being Paula, Chase, and Sarah, are all going to come up. We're going to do the oath of office, and then we will have a changing of the seats, a changing of the guard. And to me, if I can be a little bit sappy, folks, it is something that makes me very proud. I think this is what separates us from other 3-bit kind of states around the world that don't have the ability to choose who they represent for their government. And even though we are a small Nassau Bay of 5,000 people, this is a representation of that privilege that we have as living in this country. So with that, after we change the guard and change the seats, we have recognition for each of the 3 outgoing city council people. I can say here that I'm very pleased to have worked with the 3, and I'm very pleased with the energy and the newness of the 3 that'll be coming in. So with that, Dick, Counselor, if you would help, if Paula Tomasi, Chase Waterwall, and Sarah Horton, please come to the podium.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. And using your name and the position that you're elected to. I
Paula Tomasi,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of council member, position number
1, council member position number 1
position number 3
Council member position number 5
of the city of Nassau Bay
of the city of Nassau Bay
and of the state of Texas,
and of the state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and of this state.
and of this state.
So help me.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You need to sign.
Sarah, everybody else.
Oh, you signed it.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, actually, don't sit down there. I hate to say it. It is time for seat 1, seat 3, and seat 5 to come, and we have a changing of the guard. Welcome you.
Yeah, I'm coming. Oh, but sure. Yeah.
But here, maybe I'll start with some of the official, and I know there are other people who have other things that they want to say to some on council. But I'm very pleased with the new council that's coming on, and I do want to give some people the breadth of contribution that the last three council members have made. And I'm going to start with Ashley Graves, and I've done a little bit of research. I've asked each one of them to kind of input some things, and then I won't let the cat completely out of the bag, but I've also got a surprise for Don Matter. One of the things that I'll say about Ashley is while she had been in position 2 and position 3, and maybe not has served as long as some of the others, but I don't know of a single council person that was involved in different aspects of our city. It was particularly when you look at things that are external to the city, she found her way to be able to represent and to be able to project the city of Nassau Bay to a number of different people, and I thank her for that. She served on council from 2018 to 2020 in position 2. And from 2021 to now in position 3, she was the only council person that has graduated from the Nassau Bay 101, if people know what I mean by 101. She's been on the Parks Committee and the Board of Adjustment. She participated in a number of ride-alongs with our law enforcement. I think they've had quite a bit of participation on her on that part. She's been a volunteer as a host on the Nassau Bay TV, so she has worked to really bring insight into some other areas. And she's also been on several task forces, including solar lights, parking, and as a council member, she was on the TERS board. She's been on the Houston-Galveston Area Council as a representative. She served as secretary and treasurer on the Harris County Mayors and Councils Association, again, for making sure we're represented in the region. She served on the short-term rentals task force, which created our first short-term rental ordinance. She's been on the landscaping committee, and she was also helped establish the live streaming task force, which has led to a lot of the things that have been for the ability to digitally project our meetings for people who can't be here. She was a mentor at Clear Horizon High School, and she also partnered with a number of the communities and schools by adopting the Space Center Intermediate. She represented Nassau Bay in Washington, D.C., and was part of the annual Citizens for Space Exploration. So again, she's done quite a bit. And last but not least, she has served on the CAMD board for several years. And I give this a conservative estimate that she raised tens of thousands of dollars for the enhancements of Nassau Bay that we've seen throughout the city. So really appreciate it. I wish she was here. We have a gift for her, which I know we can provide her for her service, but we'll get that to her. And that's again, thank you to Ashley for servicing for our community.
Mayor, do you want to read this one?
Yes, if you would like to do that. She had some prepared comments too.
So on behalf of a former council person, Ashley Graves, I'm going to read. She had a quick note to the citizens, staff, council, and mayor. My apologies for being unable to attend this evening. My family and I are taking some much needed time for rest and relaxation as we regroup for what's ahead. What an honor it has been to serve on the Nassau Bay City Council. I have enjoyed my time serving this community and look forward to serving. A huge thank you to each and every citizen for trusting me with such an important position. You all have a deep love for this city that shines bright. Please keep shining and leading when and wherever you can, and know that it is greatly appreciated. It has been a pleasure to work with our outstanding staff through the years. Thank you for giving so much through your hard work and dedication to Nassau Bay. We are blessed to have such talent working for our citizens. To the incoming council members, I wish you the courage to lead from your heart with a clear mind and a focus on what is best for our entire community. Thank you for your willingness to take on such an important role of service, and I know each of you has what it takes to accomplish great feats in our amazing city. To Mayor Johnson, Mayor Pro Tem Matter, Councilmember Mossman, and fellow council I leave behind on the dais, I wish you well. Kindest regards, Ashley Graves.
The next person I want to recognize is Dr. Mossman. As I mentioned, as I like to call her Sandy, as well as everyone else. And before I read some of your prepared things here, I just want to just highlight to everybody how much I have her counsel. Your one-on-one comments as Mayor Pro Tem, as just as a good person and as somebody who's been a leader in our community. I have grown from that, so I really appreciate that. But for here, the things that I think are important that we put down here is that Gary and Sandy have lived in Nassau Bay for over 50 years and where they've raised their 3 children. She served on council for 8 years, serving as Mayor Pro Tem for 2 years, and then returning to council beginning in 2021 to fill an unexpired term. Currently serving as Mayor Pro Tem since January. Prior to being on City Council, she was Superintendent of Schools for Clear Creek Independent School District from 2003 to 2008. And during her educational career, she was the first female to be named secondary school head principal, serving at that capacity at Seabrook Intermediate School, where they started the Science Magnet program and the Clearbrook High School. To digress here a little bit, what I'm always pleased about, because I have teachers in my family, is that Sandy was, I believe, the superintendent teacher had worked her way up the hard way. She not only has a PhD, but she's got what I call a PHK, a doctorate from the School of Hard Knocks. So I want people to know that. While serving as superintendent, she had 2 accomplishments that she was most proud of by designing and implementing Clear Horizons, the early college high school program, and designed the education village. She was also one of the 5 finalists for the Texas State Superintendent of the Year in 2007. She currently serves on a number of community boards. Again, thank you for your services. You've been a great help to the city and to me personally. So thank you. Don't sit down. No, I don't. All right. You may need it though, but I think I need it. Got a couple of things for you, but the first and foremost, I tried to hide it from you. Just to let you know, as I was trying to get some of the super secret information about some of the longevity, I thought the text messages were just not all there, or wasn't shared between the 2 of them, but they share everything, which is a good testament to their relationship. So as I'm sitting here thinking I'm, being super sneaky, I get this other text message saying, "So we see the same text again." Yeah. Luckily, I didn't say everything. So, but I have a proclamation for you, and I really want to read this because it has been a pleasure working with you. And you've done so much for the city, and this doesn't even really go into everything. But whereas the city of Nassau Bay takes great pride in recognizing those individuals whose commitment and dedication have made a lasting and unique impact on our community and its citizens. And whereas Don was transferred to Texas from Pennsylvania in 1971 to start up what is now the largest incineration facility in North America for Rollins Environmental Services. And whereas Don, on the same day in 1971, when he moved into Nassau Bay, Miss Balboa Apartments, he met his future wife, Sherry, in the party room. And whereas, beknownst to Sherry on that date, stated boldly, I don't know who he is or where he came from, but I'm going to marry him. And in August of 1972, they married, buying their first home in Nassau Bay on Carriage Lane, and later, after 3 years, were proud parents of Chad, Kimberly, and Ashley. And whereas Don joined the Nassau Bay Civic Center early on, and then in 1976 joined the Nassau Bay Volunteer Fire Department, serving later as maintenance captain and ultimately president. And whereas Nassau Bay will forever be indebted to Don for starting the first Nassau Bay 4th of July parade, which has been a cornerstone celebration for our city. And whereas Don was elected to city council in 1994 after successfully clashing with Harris County local water scheme restrictions and devising a no excessive weight ordinance that preserved water scheme for our residents and stands to this day. Whereas the citizens of Nassau Bay elected Don as mayor of the city from 1996 to 2002, would then serve an additional 8 years as mayor from 2004 to 2012, as well as mayor pro tem, councilman up to this date, June 12th. Whereas Don was the founding member of the Infrastructure Committee, and his leadership in engineering has been instrumental in solving Nassau Bay's flooding issues throughout the city, and particularly on Upper Bay Road, that ensured safe evacuation of all our citizens during hurricanes or other disaster storms, and incalculable savings in protecting our homes. And whereas as mayor, Don founded the Economic Development Corporation, the Redevelopment Association, and the TERS that successfully tore down the old Sackowitz Mall and the other obsolete, outdated office buildings to build what is our Nassau Bay Town Center today. And he dredged the main channel of Nassau Bay, ensuring continued boating recreation for another generation of citizens. And finally, whereas Don has been a strong supporter of our emergency responders, be they police, fire, or ambulance, he has been instrumental in providing these brave individuals with the tools, equipment, training, and resources to allow them to grow into the organizations they are today, being first class in protecting our city and citizens. Now, therefore, I, Phil Johnson, Mayor of the City of Nassau Bay, on behalf of the Nassau Bay City Council, the Nassau Bay City staff, and the citizens of Nassau Bay, do hereby express a heartfelt appreciation to Don C. Matter for his 49 years of service to the community, with 22 of those years in elected office. I am honored to present not only this proclamation that will establish each and every June 12th as Don C. Matter, but also provide you with a key to our city so that you may continue to provide your guidance, advice, and service to our city forever. Thank you, sir.
Mayor.
I didn't do all Or big help. Big. It scares nothing. I know it, Chris. It's still work. I gave it, they went to Tuesday. You figured this pass off the skippers.
But we changed that. That actually is the opens locks in every door. We changed all the locks. You have to use that because we know you have a key to every door in this place.
I'm gonna tell you all, it was not all me. I had very good staff, people. My yard, and including this guy. Great job so far.
Thank you, Don. Would anyone else want to come up and have some comments for people? Come on up.
As president of the Nassau Area Management District, it's my honor to recognize a couple of folks for their contributions to our commercial district. First, I hope Ashley is watching, but I want to recognize her and her efforts in support of our commercial businesses. She goes above and beyond, especially with her Thursday night soirees once a month. Very popular, getting people out to try the restaurant stuff. So, Ashley, great work. Thank you very much. As a token of our appreciation, I got her some flowers. I'll deliver to her house since she's not here today. Second, Don Matter. I think it goes without saying that Don has done more to our commercial district than anyone else combined. Your efforts to secure and get this management district going, even though Rick Perry stupidly vetoed it the first time, and we had to come back again, you stuck with it. And by what you did is why our town square is here today. So I salute you for everything you've done because it is immeasurable. And I think a day in his honor was very appropriate. I was going to make that suggestion, but you beat me to it. So as a token of appreciation, and Don will get this, I don't know that you can still imbibe, but I got you a special Crown Reserve bottle. And you know, if you can't drink it all, I know there's a few ex-mayors or council members that will be glad to help you.
Happy to help, Don. Happy to help.
So, thank you.
With that, we have coffee from Java Owl. We also have, I believe, some tasty treats from Gina's. We're going to take a recess so that we can mingle, both to let the citizens congratulate the new members coming on and give the last farewell to the council people who serve. Thank you. We are in recess, and it is 6:24.
Who's this from? Z.
This is from
Yeah.
Oh, this is for the,
Yeah.
I'll just come to your house.
he had these made up for him too. And more class. I can't hear you. I can't. All right. That'll work. That'll work.
It's gonna be a tough sell. Okay, that's a good thing. Anyway, the utilities we were on the south side. That's where we solicit members and say, here's what the fee would be. You have to tell us what kind of cost it would be to put research this
Come on, call it. Call it. It's okay. I'll make it all like that. Make it hard. Yeah.
It's gonna clear out. And I don't think there's a deal on it. I know. I'm here. You better. Hello, sir.
Is that right?
I didn't give him a hard time.
She gave me a hard time telling me. She didn't give me permission. She gave me a hard time. I can dish it out. Take it. She's safe. Where'd you go?
Sure. Just on one of the cruise lines out of Galveston. Nice. We're going on one over Christmas break. Me and my whole family. Me and my 7-year-old. Might as well.
Might as well do it.
Yeah, my mom too. My parents do all the time. Okay. Okay, you're a pro. You obviously know. It's just for a week though, then you're good. The biggest one, Harmony and Sea. Okay, we're going on that one. Okay. Yes, please. Which is it? The one that's going to Honduras? Same. Okay, I'm excited. I'm so pumped. My little boy is all about it. Okay. The CPM, it's you would trust it. They have it all.
That is well from the kids.
Yes. Okay. To go back the next day. Oh, I'm like, Mom wants to hang out with you, and you're right.
No, you have your type, but you also have.
That's amazing. I'm excited. I went on them when I was young with my family, but we did carnival. And the kids were good. And that was, Right.
Hey, that's not Dick.
It will be. We don't come back to you. So we're so excited. I'm happy to be back. It's a little bit, yeah. But did you?
All right. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate your advice.
You bet.
I see you on that email. So they're going to try. Hopefully they get that.
Let me know.
Yeah, I will.
Look forward to working with you.
Yeah, you bet.
I'll help you, whatever you need.
Okay, thank you.
Because they didn't offer that.
Right. Sure. Yeah, it might as well. Yeah. Right. Right, of course. Well, dang, I want to hear about that one too. Let me know if you find out. I'm fine. Oh, yeah. Okay. So you have to let me know.
I see you up here, but I usually just come and go.
Yes.
Yes. It keeps me out of trouble. Yeah, because I broke my regulator for what comes out of my mouth sometimes. So it's best if I just come and go.
No governor on it, it just comes bubbling out.
It does. I have forgotten my mother. But that's okay. My daughter too. In October, where
I would be there. Yeah, that's where I was sitting. The sun got the musician, and then I go to that.
Lynette, yes, where she was. I saw you there a couple of times. And yes, you were. Yes, you were. But I see that you're happy.
No, I sold that and I live downtown, in Midtown. The old Development Article was built in 1970. It's really 15 units. We're on the second floor with a balcony and a patio. Those are the downtown.
Have my net no idea. Oh my God.
Been there
I'm
about 20 years.
the son of my nephew. It doesn't walk more than 4
So there's a lot of places to go and eat.
Best friend.
Around the neighborhood, so it's
I'm gonna
Right, yeah, I know that. That was,
Back to my room.
That was the best I did all day. Just so you know. I threw up a lot in practice. Yeah, I guess.
Oh, I bet that's nice. I bet. Well, it's good to see you. Bye-bye.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that guy. I'm trying to remember where it was. You don't know?
I don't know what I do here.
Gray hair.
Oh, that's
Yeah. Well, you might be fine. I appreciate everything.
Oh, good.
You know, I appreciate you.
Yeah, I know Bush. I know that guy too, but I can't remember where. I think he's retired military. Problem with the retired military guys, they come out and they give orders and people tell them to go fuck themselves, you know?
yeah. Oh, okay. He's got
Just smile and
all right. Very good. All right.
What's the word?
All right. Thanks.
What's the word on
Well, you got your this room here. I'll come here.
Good for him.
Yeah, he gonna educate us.
Yeah,
I wish I had that much free time, don't you?
yeah, it's such a waste of time, you know. You're so right. You don't ever get anywhere. I don't understand.
And you know, they're just reading the garbage that somebody else has put out there somewhere.
I know.
They didn't put this together.
Well, it's like Roscoe's argument about how you doing, John? Nice to see you. You all right? Nice to see you. About you didn't have a copy available, so the ordinance was going. No, it's not. No, it has nothing to do with the nothing. It's supposed to do, but if we didn't do it, it doesn't have any right. You know what's so silly about that argument too is wanted to put belt and suspenders on the thing. Just have one more reading after tonight. Pass it tonight, enforce it, and before anybody can do anything about it in the courthouse, we will have ratified it with another reading. Yeah. It's a stupid argument. Which is probably what I'll have them do. Put it on one more time on a consent agenda and just pass it third reading. Okay?
It's a little warm. But apparently, not everybody, because this is putting on his jacket.
He's right there. That's it?
Yeah. No, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Hey, Phil, that's how I said.
It is. I saw it. Yep. I said 6:45 on to restart up. Where to get going? That's good. I thought so. Thanks. Perfect. Better not. Better not.
I will
yours
reach.
or mine?
No, that's yours. I was checking to make sure.
Because I steal Dick's all the time.
I can see how that happens.
It is. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I do it well.
Yeah. So good. Sandy and Dawn Madden.
Yep.
Shapley. I think she would like what you said.
I think.
But you can send it
I
to
will. I would like to bring us back into session. It's 6:46. We have a little bit of a long agenda, but I want us to progress along that path. Dick, is there anything else I need to do in regards to coming out of recess?
No.
Okay. Then the next item on the agenda is the introduction of the new building official and building coordinator. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. We're Nassau Bay is very happy to have two new employees in our building department who have hit the ground running. Not that we gave them much choice. We'd like to have Cecily Caldwell. She's out here. Cecily comes to the building department as a permit tech coordinator. She's got 14 years experience municipal government with building departments and permit techs. She's previously worked with Galveston, Texas City, and Dickinson. So we're excited to come in. And she took over their office first day, and second day I think I went in to check on her, and she had the office all cleaned up and straightened up. It was I asked her to come over and take care of my office. So Cecily, congratulations. We're happy to have you here. Also, we have Herman Myers, our new building official. Herman is here.
Hey, Herman.
Herman has 8 years experience in municipal government, previously with Baytown, Texas City, and Dickinson, all in the building, in building departments. And I know that doesn't sound like a whole lot, 8 years, but he's got a vast amount of experience prior to that in general contracting with building and being out there in the field actually working. And he some years ago he decided that he wanted to get out of the working environment and come in and doing the code enforcement, building enforcement, and helping people get things right on their houses. So we're happy to have Herman here also. The interesting about these two, they both applied at the same time. Both Cecily and Herman have worked together in Texas City and Dickinson before coming here. So they already know how each of them work together. And so it's a seamless move to have them come here. So we're happy to have both of them here and have our building official or our building department moving forward. So welcome and thank you both.
I'd like to say you might not notice this, but the other Friday I was out and I actually saw a white truck with Nassau Bay with flashing lights and it said City of Nassau Bay Code Enforcement. So thank you, Herman. It's great to see you out there. Welcome to Nassau Bay.
I'm just pleased because I knew that there was a dynamic duo that was getting put back into place, that you guys had worked not only together, but worked well. And I guess I even said that maybe it's like putting the band back together again. They're going to have some fun. We certainly need your help here. And so you've got some challenges, but no, you've got the support to just work through those challenges and do what's right. And I've already been hit up by 2 people for generators and permits for generators. So I think you're going to have people come knocking on your door real. Welcome. The next, Hal, come on up. Where is it? It's right here. It's not a real check, but there will be a real check coming your way. For those of you, I'm going to ask Hal to give a better description of the Gulf Coast Film Festival. But for me, this one's kind of special because the Gulf Coast Film Festival was pretty hit hard by COVID with a lot of the things going on. And this year represented a year in existence. So we kind of put together some extra help in order to be able to really do an anniversary send off. I don't want to say send off, but lift off. Maybe that's a better way to say it. But in any event, we're providing $16,000 of support in order to really have a truly good event, for the viewing and all the things, and a spectacular evening for the event. So, Al, there you go. And if you would give people a little bit more, I did not do a good service with, of a good description, but you can.
We pretty much said, this is our 25th season. We are an internationally recognized film festival. We have won several awards for our film festival over the years. If you go to our website, Gulf Coast Film Fest.net, Facebook page, you'll find a lot of information on there, probably more than I can tell you, or more than you'd like to hear. But anyway, this is our 25th anniversary. We've held it here in this area for 25 years. We've only we didn't even cancel them. We just showed the films and stuff on over TV, close to it. During hurricanes, we've rescheduled rather than cancel. We've had many celebrity guests, like let's say if you go to the webpage, you'll see some. This year, we're trying to get somebody from Houston. I will say he's a pretty famous country western star. One of our other celebrity guests will be earning this from public television. We have a lot of Emmy and Grammy winners coming this year, and it's all going to be here in the Nassau Bay area. The screenings and special event on Friday night at the Hilton, and the Lake Projectile will be.
So just you, 40 films, 50 films?
We're going to we will probably show over the weekend somewhere between 30 and 40 films from all over the world and all over the country. We have we've had the Council General Ed here from France come and accept an award for one of the foreign films. We had a fella come a couple of years ago all the way from Beijing, China, accept his award. We may be small, but we are kind of big. At one of the media magazines once said, it's a little festival that could.
There you go. Very good.
Thank you again, sir.
You've been involved in this.
Each put your one hand, let's do the same hand, so you switch. There we go. Fabulous. Yes.
How's that?
Well, you get that corner, Michelle? Okay. Yes. Fabulous. 3, 2, 1. And 3, 2. Fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you again.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Next, the citizens' comments. The privilege of speaking at this time is limited to the following persons, which are residents, persons having ownership interest in property or business located within the city, or their attorneys, and statements of no more than 3 minutes. And are you doing the timing?
I got the time.
Anybody would like to make a citizen's comment?
When does the 3 minutes start?
When you start speaking.
When you start speaking.
I, Cody Stormvoss, reserve all of my rights. I do find it very interesting that these new council members took a constitutional oath. I want to make it very clear that I do love my country and I do respect and admire everyone's patriotism, but that is the wrong flag. The U.S. Incorporated is not our country, but is a corporation controlled by foreign powers. Mayor Phil Johnson has acknowledged to understand this. I love my country, but it's the wrong flag. The bar, the British Administration British Accreditation Registrar, basically all lawyers are bar certified as well as that. So why are lawyers registered with the Crown? This is a business owned by the Crown, but it is run by we the people. So to uphold your constitutional oath, that flag means it gives notice that this is not a constitutional court. We are under maritime admiralty law, right? When I came out of my mother's birth canal, my certificate of birth, my manifest was given to the dock and registered with the bank, which controls the river current from the sea, the currency. They use words after the Revolutionary War, where we fought for our independence through clever contracting and play on words, the Crown has been able to label everyone a citizen or a slave. That's why the 13th Amendment made freed all the slaves, and the 14th Amendment made everyone a United States citizen. So run this business better, to the council, I'll say. Stop clapping when officers write 100 tickets, 200 tickets, give people felonies for non-corpus delicti crimes with no injured party, no person or property that was damaged, just statutes or rules that is for profit that goes to the Crown. Instead of extorting what you would call citizens, why not allow them to volunteer or fundraise, host more fundraisers, but do not, perpetuate this criminal activity. Stop hurting the middle class. We all know the economy is rigged. They print money with the Federal Reserve and they use it to turn against each other. I did not want to contract with the city of Nassau Bay, but now it is my obligation, since y'all have continued to contract with me, to educate you. You have received my fee schedule, and even this business, all businesses worldwide have to abide by UCC, the Universal Commercial Code, right? And we, the people, will not stand for this tyranny. We will be slaves no more. And I want this to be very clear.
Seconds.
My last 30 seconds, I will say to the new council members, you took an oath to the Constitution. McCann versus Greenway, the eagle on top of the bar deprives the rights under the bar, including all of our constitutional rights. You just took an oath to the Constitution under God. And if you do not disband your loyalty to the Crown, you are dishonoring your oath. And I want it to be very clear. There is a giant brainwashing campaign that's been going on.
Time is up.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else like to make a comment? Roscoe.
Roscoe Lee, 1631 Antigua Lane. I wanted to express concern that a couple of the agenda items for tonight don't meet the procedural requirements defined in the city charter. Specifically, agenda item 7.6, which is an ordinance to recover costs for public information requests, and agenda 5, ordinance to update short-term rental regulations. If you look at the charter, section 3.11, it states that at any reading of a proposed ordinance, persons interested shall have a reasonable opportunity to be heard. The first ordinance was brought before council at last month's meeting. To meet this charter requirement, you need to hold a public hearing. There was no public hearing held last month on that first ordinance, and there's no public hearing announced for the ordinance associated with short-term rentals. So I don't think that legally you can proceed with either of those two ordinances without holding a public hearing. Now, if you decide to proceed with the ordinance and you have that as part of the consent agenda for the charging for open records request, I have a concern. 2 years ago, a resident made many requests for public information, far exceeding any of the numbers that are cited in the proposed ordinance. That same resident made requests to others, and this was associated when Jason Reynolds was being fired. That same resident made requests to other cities where Jason was seeking employment. So my question is, there was no concern at that time about the amount of requests for public information. Why now? I'm a bit concerned. I think the mayor continues to say he supports transparency. This seems to be a contrast to that. If you proceed with this ordinance, I've looked at the ordinance and it has fee requirements associated with the number of pages, the cost for CDs, et cetera, et cetera. But most dominantly, of course, there's a charge for the hours required for this activity. I believe that you're biting off a big chunk of work, that you'll have to get a very sophisticated and comprehensive auditing software to log that information. I don't think you could get by with charging somebody a fee for saying, well, I think I spent about 10 hours on this type of collecting this type of information. If I received a receipt for that, I would demand a log of the hours and days for when work was done.
You got 20 seconds.
So I'm concerned that you should follow the charter in terms of ordinance. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak?
Okay, good evening. I'll try to be as clear as possible. I'm gonna be honest, I had a difficult medical day, so my mind is not as clear as I would typically want it to be. But this is an important,
Your name, please?
my name's Mary Abraham. I'm sorry, Mary Abraham, 1814 Antigua Lane. As I said, my mind is not where it should be right now. But I'm here because of what's being talked about in the city with HOAs and short-term rentals and ordinances. And there are two aspects to this that I want to address. First of all, is code enforcement. The second is the hot tax collection. The first one, if someone's violating a noise ordinance, they should be fined. We all agree with this. If someone is violating a parking or a speeding violation, they should be fined or ticketed. But somebody should not be differently because they are a short-term renter, a long-term renter, or a residence. They're either breaking an ordinance or they're not. We should all be held to the same standards. And so with that, as I was looking at things, I found out that our noise ordinance, which we do have a noise ordinance, but I do not believe anybody gets fined for it. Why do we have an ordinance if we're not finding anybody for it? So if we have noise violations, can we please go after them? We have a noise ordinance, but ours is a little crazy. We need to talk about it. The level of it is 50 decibels at night and 50 in the daytime. And I looked at this noise meter and it lists at 60 decibels is a 60 decibels is a normal conversation. So an outside daytime noise violation is below the normal conversation rate. So I think that we need to look at what our ordinances are saying. And then once we look at our ordinances, can we please abide by them and hold everyone to the same standard? They need to be reasonable. So with that, I'm going to go to the hot tax side of it now. There are solutions with this. People are saying that the short-term rentals are not permitted and registered. Simple solution. The state of Texas and the city of Galveston requires VRBO and Airbnb to collect and submit the hot taxes directly to the city or to the state. It doesn't even go through the homeowner. It's collected when it is done on when it's done on the platform. It's immediately the city gets that money. The other thing is that to be on VRBO or Airbnb, the city can require Airbnb and VRBO to have this homeowner a permit number. So there could not be a permit that does not. You can't have an unpermitted VRBO or Airbnb on these platforms. So with our new people coming in, can we please partner with Airbnb and VRBO and get these unpermitted ones out of our city? Thank you.
Anybody else? Don't forget name, rank, and serial number.
Commander Brian Clark, United States Navy, retired, 18703 Point Lookout Drive, Nassau Bay, Texas. Free speech is a wonderful thing. And as a great man once said, it's better to be silent and have people think you're a fool than to speak and remove all the doubt. So that covers the first speaker. So, but I served 2 years in the Navy. That's my flag. I stand beside it. And one day I will lay underneath it. So, but my main point I wanted to talk about is welcome my next door neighbor, Sarah, to the city council. She ran a stand-up campaign, high ground. I'm very proud of what she accomplished in all of it. And the only other thing I'd like to say is remember, it's not about you. It's about us and how you can serve. And after 40 years of myself serving as either a naval officer in intelligence and counterintelligence, remember those things. You keep your ego in check and do the best for all of us. And I think I'll yield back the rest of my time.
Thank you.
That's illegal. Anybody else like to make a comment? Going once. Come on, Jim. Just because we know you, still got to do name, rank, and serial number.
Yeah, sir. Jim Sella, Hereford, 18315 Hereford Lane, lived here about 36 years. Just want to thank the fire department, the police department for being on the water so early this year. It's really slowed down the speeding traffic, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks. Is there anybody else? Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? Going 3 times? Public hearing for the citizens' comments closed. The next item is councilman comments. And we start with position 1. So any comment to have, and that does not mean you're required to have comments, but we start position 1 and move our way up.
Great. Thank
Welcome,
you.
Paula.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for all those that came out and voted and supported me and the new candidates. We're glad to be here. We'll work together and we will remember the us. Thank you.
Lucy?
All right, so I do want to say thank you to Don, Sandra, and Ashley. They did a great job, and sad to see them go, but happy for the legacy that they left. And I think you did a great job sharing that for each one of them. So thank you for that. And welcome to Paula, Chase, and Sarah. I'm excited to have the 3 of you on council with us. It's going to be good. We're going to get some good stuff done. And I'm also excited that we have a new building official, a new building coordinator. I think we've been missing that in our city. So welcome with open hearts, arms, everything from not just me, but I know this community is looking forward to having you. And I like to say, new dynamic duo.
Mm-hmm.
So glad that we got the pair together. And then I just want to say that summer in Nassau Bay is a lot of fun. The Nauticats are in full steam now. Excited to be doing that and getting up early for those swim meets. And also 4th of July, which I'll talk about a little bit more in the special events committee report.
I just want to say thanks to you all. I know I ran unopposed, so I appreciate all your votes. I didn't have to work too hard for the campaign, but I promise I'll work hard for all of y'all. So I look forward to that, and don't hesitate to come talk to me this email on the streets. Okay? Thanks.
James?
So I'd like to echo what my fellow council member said. For Ashley, Sandra, and Don, it's a pleasure to have them up here and have a chance to work with them. And welcome Paula, Chase, and Sarah. Good to have you guys up here. I did say Chase ran the hardest race ever run in Nassau Bay. He's lucky you got the seat. But I will say that now, Mayor, you're going to have to grow some facial hair to match up with the rest of us. So I want to bring up a couple of things that we've done and accomplished over this past period between last meeting and this meeting. Mayor, I met with Commissioner Garcia on a couple of things with some other mayors from around the eastern side of Harris County, voice and concerns we had and opportunities that we do working together. So we're going to be expanding on those things with the commissioner at a later date. It was the first time for us to sit down with him and to sit down with us, which was fantastic. The other part is that had a meeting with TGLO also. That was this week, very good one, because that was tied into the person who's responsible for the disaster recovery for TGLO. They have responsibility for everything from the ship channel to the Port Galveston. So quite substantive there, and looking at working with them, the residents here in Nassau Bay. The new commissioner has only been there for 5 months, so looking to have some good interactions with her in her new role. I appreciate Mary. Thank you for your comments on that. Ordinances are laws, and laws are meant to be followed, and there is repercussions for not following those laws. And I think that's a very important thing to understand that even no matter what it is, whether it's a residential or criminal, doesn't matter. It's their laws that we have to abide by. And so enforcement is very key. So with that, I will say it's a pleasure to have our new building department group together. They play the dynamic duo. I hope you're on the side of good and you can get a hold of Commissioner Gordon when you need him. And that we can actually.
We do have a bat light.
Yeah, I think they do. They do the flashing lights on top of the truck, because I did see that. And that was so nice for me to see you out and about hadn't even met you yet, and you were out in the field, which was fantastic for me. Other part that's going to be very important is two things. Of course, you know, it's hurricane season, so y'all need to be prepared. We had a wonderful weather event. I can let you know that we had issues with some pumps and the electricity that went out. And with that, unfortunately, it took a little longer to drain certain areas. But the nice part was some of the work that we've done for the city with the drains and the water lines have actually done what they were meant to do, which is really good. Water went down about 2.5 hours. I would say Bell Harbor didn't really see much with anything. And it was some of the older areas in Nassau Bay that did have some of the drains, but they're scheduled for work to be done. And I know Paul will probably talk about that later on. Another part is the Gulf Coast Protection District. That is where the IDIC was meeting with them on this Wednesday. Yeah. And then on Thursday, I'll be in Austin for the 8th legislative session debrief. And so you might be aware that there are some laws that have been changed in the state of Texas, which impact municipalities exponentially. And with that, we'll see some changes to those laws that will come effect September 1. So hopefully we'll bring back from that meeting up there in Austin what some of those things are and what we can do about some of them, at least as a municipality and only the city. So with that, I would like to pass it on to you, friend. Sarah.
Hello, everyone. Yes. I just want to say thank you, Brian, for your comments. I'm really looking forward to serving the community. I'm raising 3 young kids here, so I have a very vested interest in this community and seeing it, you know, be the best thing it can be. You know, I'm also used to serving because I have 3 young children, so to the sometimes grateful and ungrateful, you know, so it is what it is. So I really always welcome everyone's input and everyone's questions, and I hope to be as open and forthright and honest as always to everybody that I can be. And I can't wait to help make this place better. And it's already great, but make it better. Thank you.
Michelle?
Thank you. Yes, so I'll just echo my other council members, welcoming the new council members and congratulating, thanking the outgoing as well. It's hard to go last if you just end up echoing what everyone else says. But yeah, I do encourage everyone to come out and for the 4th of July event. Don't forget to tell people about that. It's like going to be a fantastic event. The other exciting thing that's coming out more with the Parks and Recreation Committee, you want to put on your calendar. If you go online, you will see that Nassau Bay is officially on the Astros World Series Tour. So they will be coming here to City Hall on July the 15th. And we have some members of our Parks and Recreation Committee that are planning a really nice event for that. So I hope you guys can all come out, you know, bring family or just like me, I'll probably get my picture taken with the Astro and the trophy. So thank you. And I also welcome the new building department. We really are glad to have you guys on board. Thanks a lot.
Let me close out here. The first thing I want to mention is just thank you to the staff for the election. We have new people here. It ran pretty much seamlessly, and from that standpoint, I know Zena's not here, but Cheney, I know you helped out. There was just a lot of work that was being done, and the city is very appreciative of that work to go so seamlessly. The other is to all 5 candidates. We have the 3 that prevailed, and I'm very pleased that they prevailed. But I'm also very thankful for the other 2 because they're the ones that, as we mentioned here, talks about free speech and allows a debate and allows people visions, and that's how we move forward as a city. And I believe strongly in that. And if I paraphrase off a little bit of the first gentleman who spoke in the citizens hearings, this municipality is empowered by the Constitution of the state of Texas, which is empowered by the Constitution of the United States of America. We have a proud flag, and I too had inquired about the gold chains. And for some who may want to know, it is a maritime, and it is to the heritage of us as a space city and as a space environment, because many of the laws and the things there, as people in the space industry know, are patterned off the maritime, or at least that's what I was told some 20 years ago. But that is not representative of us being a corporation. We are founded in the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the state of Texas, and the bylaws of our charter. And I believe that very strongly too. So with that, I do want to even strengthen the comments that Councilman Abbey mentioned. We did have a storm event. It again indicates we're in a tropical area. We had a little bit over an inch of rain in not much more than a half hour. I think it was about 40 minutes. And there was a tremendous amount of wind and things along that line. And it again helped us illustrate where our vulnerabilities are. When we lose power, we lose pumping capacity. And those areas that have generators and have power worked, and they worked well. We've got a demonstration that's going to happen sometime, hopefully in June, where we're going to try to do a gas turbine to see if we can get out of having power everywhere. And I'm hopefully Centerpoint's going to finally connect that 480 three-phase line from the POTW or our water treatment plant to the front of David Braun Park. But those are the things that we're going to be focusing on, is how we can ensure power so that when power goes out, we don't have, and we still have that vulnerability. But it is hurricane season. June 1st is hurricane season. As I mentioned in my coffee, I want everybody to have a plan. You need to know where to go. If you have documents that you have in a security box or things like that, be very careful. And my wife and I got caught for 4 or 5 hours waiting in line because you go one by one. So make sure you have all your important papers in hand and ready to go. And if you remember with Ike, we only had about 36 hours of real notification. It was supposed to go to Florida, then it was going to go to Mexico, and then 36 hours notice it came into Nassau Bay. So it is hurricane season. So please be safe and have a plan. To the fire department and the police department, the boat works out there, guys. When they're out there patrolling, and when they're out there, it keeps people quiet. And if they're not out there, all it takes is one person to turn it up, and then everybody else has to turn it up so that they can hear their music rather than the one person's. So that boat really works. I still got some complaints about people really coming around that cut from the channel as you turn into the Bay of Nassau Bay. And I know you guys spend extra time up there, so I appreciate that. But that's the one thing about safety that works. And as Jim knows, it's the same thing around the hairpin turn on it. That presence, the lights going around works, and I thank you guys for it. Last but not least, I do want to give more publicity. I know it's going to probably be on the special events. We didn't get it into the Compass Rose, but we do have this July parade, which is probably the one event that doesn't need much publicizing, but it's coming along, and it's going to be quite an event as always. And with that, I will cede, and I will send it to Chief. If you'd like to go forward.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. First, our city manager report, which will be rather quick because everybody's already stole my thunder. First of all, congratulations to all the new council members up here. Appreciate y'all the time that you've put into the election, and now the time that you're going to be putting into helping run the city. So we appreciate that. Also, thank you to our outgoing council members, Ashley Graves, Dr. Sandra Mossman, and Don Matter. The city of Nassau Bay is absolutely bitter because of their dedication and service to the community. So thank you to all of our elected officials for all of their dedication. Budget preparation is ongoing within the staff right now. We'll be meeting later with council later this month, begin putting together the FY24 city budget. So that's always a fun time to look forward to. Again, July 4th coming up, the Independence Day festivities throughout the city, and I'm sure Councilperson Summers is going to have an update on that with the SEC update. And then Councilperson Weller already beat me to the punch on the Astros trophy tour on July 15th. And I think there's probably some surprises. I don't know if we're announcing any of that yet, but where we had a meeting last week or this week? No, last week
Couple days ago.
Yeah, I'm lost. We had a meeting to start shoring up security and stuff like that. So that's moving forward. That's going to be a fun event. So with that, I'll move right over to the police department reports. Real quickly, our numbers for last month: 321 calls for service, 70 reports, 246 traffic stops, 104 citations were written, 142 verbal or written warnings, 19 arrests, 17 of those were misdemeanors, 2 were felonies. There were 10 code enforcement issues addressed by the police department. A total of 5,907 miles were driven during the month of May. Our new patrol unit is finally here, being put into service. So we finally got that here. Yes, I'll take a.
Did it come?
It's here.
There you
It's
go.
here. Finally got here. It took a little bit longer than we expected, by about 2 months. And then I want to thank, back on May 13th, I was invited to throw out the first pitch for the third Nassau Bay Wiffle Ball tournament. And I think I did a good job. So okay. All right. Other than that, that's all I have for the police department. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Fire department.
Matt and Robert both out of town somewhere, so it could be a night. But I think we ran 32 calls. Average, the hours aren't done yet. We were still working on getting that information, so I'll provide that next month. But some good information. We have 5 applicants that are pending right now, so we're at 38. Now, because the academy starts in August, so hopefully we'll get these people on board and we'll add them to our roster for next year. So,
excellent.
Any questions? Thank you.
I'll just mention here, just for Tom, we still are dealing with some of the repercussions of the site. A lot of the data which we normally have is not available, or it's not on as easily begotten paths. So bear with the staff; they're trying very hard.
Well, here in Mayor Council for Public Works, we only had 1 water leak last month. It is getting hot though, so we're going to put these new water lines to the test. Hopefully they'll do good. The sewer line installation, we're at 10,239 linear feet with 9 manholes. The street project is going along really good. We've completed 20 of 30 street sections. A lot of curb painting on Upper Bay. We're trying to just go out just a little bit more. After our big projects, the guys are trying to dedicate at least 4 to 5 hours a week painting curbs. So they're looking pretty good.
That's fantastic.
The mosquito spraying, we conducted, started that on Tuesdays and Thursdays, trying to get a good grip on that. The wastewater plant, we cleaned up the back storage, and we also did a recycling program with our metals, just old stuff, old pipe, old equipment, mowers and stuff. We got about $2,500 back to the city for the recycling program, so that was good. And then the sanitary sewer jetting, we did about 1,500 linear feet to improve the system.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Paul, quick question.
Yes.
Just with the streets that have been done so far, with ones that rain that we had, the pumps were out, the guys were working on that. But besides the area on Upper Bay, y'all or the other guys see anything else in the city in regards to areas been redone?
Yeah, no, everything looked good. We have one area that we're monitoring, I believe, on Martinique, and then we're looking at our funds, what's available left. So we're hoping to squeeze a little bit more, but everything else went pretty good.
You still have the point lookout.
Yes.
Portion to fix the
yes.
That's in the numbers.
Yes, and I think toward the end of point lookout.
It's the end, yeah.
Yes, Mayor. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to the consent agenda. Is there any items on here that we want to pull off the consent agenda?
7.3, the acting city secretary's report. I did not receive that.
I wrote it in. I did.
Is it in? What guys?
Here.
She called me at 4:30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she hasn't signed it yet, but
Okay.
that's her words, not mine.
Mr. Mayor, if you want to go over some information on this, I think it's important.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I was gonna ask, if you would, something, but I think on 7.5, if you could go over maybe just a little bit of the background there for.
Sure.
Mayor.
Mayor, can I just say one thing about 7.5? I know somebody earlier was saying that, I know when I did some open records requests before I was on council, I paid over $700 to $800 to get my open records request. So I guess that wasn't on the ordinances back then. I actually was charged at that time when I did it. So just to let you know, that's not true, that people haven't been charged in the past.
Yeah, there's even another comment, and I know James wants to make it, so I'll let him do it.
Yeah, if I can. So I think this is very important for everybody. Everyone likes to quote the Texas Open Meetings Act, which is state law coming out of the Attorney General's office, and Paxton is not there right now, but it's still the law. Inside of that document, back in the back, there is this section, and what we're doing with this is it is state law. It is what we can be doing, but we haven't been following that. And so we're actually codifying it within what we're doing here. And I can't speak for anybody else that was before me. I can't do that. But what I can do is ensure that we are following the rules of law and we're doing it to the best of our abilities. And so that's why this is here. That's why it is there. And that's, Dick, if you'd like to elaborate, I'm happy for you to do that.
Well, it meets all the guidelines of the Attorney General's office. It meets the guidelines of the state statute that pertains to it. We did what we did before with you, Michelle, was one way of doing it, but not as effective as this is. This will be even more effective. If somebody runs what's called a vexatious supplier or applicant, if they can do more than 15 hours a month or 36 hours a year in terms of cost to the city, then we then trigger an opportunity to collect all the costs beyond that of the imposition of doing it. Doesn't mean they can't get the records, it's just they have to pay for it. And this is all designed to follow those rules. They're not even our rules, they're the rules of the Attorney General and the state of Texas, and I don't see anything to argue about.
I agree.
And
I'm sorry, are we discussing 7.5 officially?
Well, that's what I was just gonna ask. Would people like this to come out? There was just some comments that I thought were relevant, and I'm open to either way, because this came up, whether we want to keep it on the consent agenda or if we want to have more dialogue, but
I just had, really, the part of the city charter, 3.11, that talks about the open discussion. I was just wondering if we would have an opportunity to do that, or is that just considered citizen comments? Or
my understanding is we always have that's a public hearing in it itself.
I agree with that.
And it's comments, and this will be the second reading, not just the first.
Right.
So this will be 2 readings and that's the purpose is what I
We had a
understand.
public hearing tonight, we had a public hearing at the last meeting, and it's there. If somebody wants to talk about it, they can. We don't have to have a special segregated public hearing. Those are usually set aside for things that are required for some special designated and published in a newspaper kind of or notice, like you have under some aspects of the zoning ordinance. Then we have a special standalone special hearing. But here, every time we have this citizens hearing, it is a public hearing.
okay, so anytime we have a citizen's comment at the beginning, that's when people are welcome to comment about what kind of ordinances we're discussing during that.
That is one way for sure. And sometimes we have separate public hearings, but that's adequate for purposes of this law on this notice.
And Sarah, just from a stylistic standpoint, I mentioned to Zena that we used to have it not just the citizens' comments. We used to state it as a public hearing, and we don't do that, but it will be from now on.
But it is
I
one, whether we
think
say so or
it
not.
is, yeah, correct. But I mean, there's some stylistic things that with some of the turnover there that we lost, and I want to make sure that it stays on.
Just for point of clarity on this, as Nassau Bay is a home rule city, which our ordinances also are the laws of our municipality, and then whichever law is stronger, if it's not covered by the state, we supersede, and if theirs is stronger than ours, they supersede. In this case, they supersede.
It's not just stronger. If the state has acted and occupied the space, then we can't come along and contradict it.
That's right.
No.
Can we go ahead and make a motion to go approve the consent agenda?
But I don't mind honoring a comment. I really don't. And I know you're the one that did it, Roscoe. And if you'd like to make a comment and make it brief, I will entertain that.
Thank you. I guess my concern is that during the citizens hearing, the rule is that you, council and mayor cannot respond to it. Whereas in a public hearing, if you make a statement at that, a president makes a statement at that time, you can have it interact. So I don't believe that, as the mayor has stated, in the past, when you have an ordinance coming up, you would have two sections to the discussion. One, the public hearing, and then the actual deliberations by mayor and council.
Not every ordinance has a public hearing separate, as a separate agenda item. Wow.
No, but I appreciate that, Roscoe. I mean, let me do this, and we're going to set this aside. So we're going to have this a little bit more discussion. So I'm pulling it out. If we want to maybe just go ahead and do 7-1, 7-2, 7-3 as a consent, I would like to ask for a motion.
Sorry, point of clarity if I can. So, Councilmember Summers actually asked about the 7.3, which is the acceptance of the acting city secretary's report. I think that needs to be also highlighted in this. I'm not sure.
You're saying just talk about it more?
I would like.
Would you like that one set out also?
No, I don't want to set out. I would like it discussed before we move forward to approve it.
Well, then you need to pull it out and approve what's not.
Sure. I'm open to do that, but you're right. You have to pull it out.
Pull out 7.3 and
Then
7.5.
then could I entertain a motion for 7-1 and 7-2?
Mayor, I motion to approve the consent agenda 7.1, special city council meeting minutes for the May 17th, 2023, of the special canvas, and to approve the 7.2, approval for auditors engagement letter as stipulated in the
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Michelle. Any other further comment? I call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. Want to go to 7? Well, let's go to 7.5 because that was the heat of the kind of the argument. You know, I'll entertain here because I'll speak. I heard you, Roscoe. You know, my view here though, this is pretty prescriptive from a standpoint of state law. This is the second reading. So from my standpoint, I'm not so sure we even have the ability to make it anything other than what it is. And then even, you know, from here, we're pretty strung by what the state will allow and what they won't allow. So in my mind, we need to go forward with, and I think there's been quite a bit, and I will do more to be able to make sure there's some, you know, no stylistic things that may hamper that perception of when a public hearing is happening.
That's very point of clarity.
Yeah.
Just for everyone to understand is that the scheduled fees are dictated by the state. They're not dictated by it.
Yeah, that's not ours.
And that this
Correct.
whole piece what I was just codifying it based off of the state law.
Correct.
We've received.
Any other comments?
I've approved it for a second reading. If you want to put built-in suspenders on it, and I don't think you need to, but if you feel uncomfortable for any reason, put it on the consent agenda again next time and have your third reading. By the time it ever got to the courthouse, it would be done with the third reading. I don't see what the problem is.
I think you should just move forward.
I do too.
Well, if you may.
Yeah, sure.
So when we have the citizens' comments at the beginning, that's essentially a public hearing, and then kind of to the comment that was made by Roscoe out there is that's not really an opportunity for us to expound upon whatever they're questioning, but that allows us now in 7.5 to discuss it.
That's right. As well as we also have our comments afterwards. So it
is addressing the questions that.
But you should have a motion to approve 7.5 and
Can I
7.3.
make the motion to go ahead and approve the consent agenda?
Yeah, we that'll allow more. Paula has wanted to make a comment.
Okay.
My concern is that as a city, we need to be transparent, and we shouldn't need to have an open records request for agenda items or things that should be readily available on the website. Zoning, we shouldn't have to request through the Open Records Act things that as a community we should be providing. So I feel that in the past, the only way to get was to submit an open records request. And I hope that we're going to be diligent about answering questions, getting agendas out, getting our website up to date, getting our calendars up to date so there's more information out there so that we don't have to have our citizens filing under open records.
Yeah, one second. I hear you. And one of the things I'll bring in as some things, I know Tom's looking at things where we were looking at software packages that would help with the minutes, with the information so that we can manage some of that data. And I'm with you. I think we have a lot of things we have to do. And I know they're looking at some of that as we try to leapfrog from what's happened with the cyber attack.
Great.
James, if you wanted to comment.
Yeah, definitely. So what, this is not circumvent anyone from putting an open records request in.
No.
Now, this is relevant also to what you said, Councilmember, of what 7.3 is. And 7.3 is the affidavit of the city secretary and the condition the office was found in relationship to data that was requested
Correct.
by several members. And I can tell you, I had to do an open meetings request under it. And this was and I got it faster than I did under my legislative authority given to me by the state of Texas. So I can tell you that the citizens are served well, and the council was not at that time. That's changing, and part of what is happening here inside the city secretary's her report is, or secretary's report is how that office was found and the condition it was found in relationship to critical information of the city that conveyed to potentially even several open meeting or open information requests that were either not performed in time. And I think that needs to be addressed, which it is being right now. The letter is progress and work, but it does play into that. But I'd like to state that this is two separate things here. One is we're following the state law. We're just codifying it. This is done. We haven't said, hey, this is what the ordinance is. This is coming from the state. We have not looked at until I went through the Open Meetings Act and I found this in there, which was specifically done for municipalities that have a small city staff. And for that period of time, there were other open meeting or requests. The issue is that no one was following that. Now we're following that. And I think that's important to stipulate here. That's important for everybody to know going forward.
Well, there were some records that were missing that nobody knew were missing.
Yeah, that'll come. Yeah, correct. I want to keep on tax with 7.5.
One more thing. I just want to say I am not opposed to the ordinance itself at all. I understand it's in sync and in step with everything that's done by other municipalities. And I just really want to make sure that we procedurally follow charter and that we, it says that any reading of a proposed ordinance, persons interested shall have a reasonable opportunity to be heard. So that to me reads like a person comes to a meeting, they have the agenda handed to them. Because say they didn't do an records request to get it at the time, or they didn't look at it online, right? They just hear at the meeting, they hear the reading of the ordinance, and they have some questions, and they're able to ask some questions about it. And I think that that's what was intended the way this was written. Now you could say, okay, these people have an opportunity to say it, to make their comments in the citizen comment to the second meeting, before the second meeting. Which is true, but the way it reads is at any reading of a proposed ordinance. So that makes it sound like at each reading.
But this is a reading and we had a public hearing tonight.
Yeah, and in addition, the agenda items were posted with 72-hour notice, and these resolutions or these were made available. Copies were made and made available.
Point of clarity, Mr. Chairman, that certain individuals requested this information
That's what I mean.
prior to 72 hours before the meeting. So information was with residents before the 72 hours.
Yep.
And in an effort to have transparency, which is a worthy goal, there's some drafters of open record requests that come up with a form that only a mother could love, and you really don't. You don't want to have that kind of transparency with it all the time. You do nothing but answer questions from tedious people.
Exactly. That's a good.
But I particularly wanted to make mention that I don't believe everyone had the full amount of information that copies were made prior to the meeting were put out here, and people even requested those if they were given so that they could probably information for the public hearing.
If you want it, you can get it. Yeah.
Yep.
One point of clarity too, Mayor, is that we did go through cyber attack and the server that holds a lot of the information
that was an issue, and they're trying to refer certain data.
All I know is I would like to ask for a motion here.
I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and approve consent agenda 7.5, the ordinance to approval of the second reading or the second reading.
Yeah. This is the second.
Ordinance 2023-0508, an ordinance for City Council of the City of Nassau Bay, adopting a policy for recovery of costs, including to respond to public information requests from a single requester in a 12-month period that exceeds 36 hours of personnel time, or that exceed 15 hours of personnel time in 1 month period, repealing entirely ordinances previously adopted in conflict herewith, and providing for finding of fact and act of exceptions governing law, codification, proper notification, and reading this is the second reading.
Are there any further questions, or do I have a second?
I have a second.
Second by James. Any last questions? Any further comments? Then I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor? That's 6-4 against.
No, again.
That is 4.
4.
Oh, is it? No.
6-4.
No, let me get caught. All those 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 against. 1. Okay, 6-1. Okay. The ordinance is approved. Going back to 7.3, the acting city secretary's report. If you would please give a little background here.
I spoke with Zena about a week ago, and she had done a draft. We worked on the slight changes. I didn't have many changes to her ordinance. She called me this afternoon. She wanted to be clear that it's still a work in progress, and she was going to be at home. It was going to have to miss the meeting, so I told her I'd put it in there. The only thing I added is the warning in the beginning of the copy I brought to you that says that it's a work in progress because she wants to reserve the right to update if necessary. Basically, it's a snapshot of what she found when she got here and the status of it as she can see it as of this time. I think it's a fair analysis of the condition of the city secretary's office.
We don't have that. The new people?
You should have.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, it wasn't in the packet.
They
It was
brought it.
in our, oh, maybe it did.
I don't, let's Don might have taken mine then. I'm sorry.
He may have taken it.
Yeah, by accident. I've done that in the past.
Okay.
So the,
Here, I think we have an extra one down here.
Yeah, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I actually prepared those.
So for the
Thanks.
for those that are in the audience, this basically just to give kind of a feeling that there are at least 6 minutes that there are no records at all, that there are documents that should have been created as part of the public record, which do not exist. And it goes back to several years. And then there are number ones that have certain things missing or that they have not been signed. And I'm just, again, for purposes here, there's 3, 6, 11, 12, 15, 20 documents that have difficulties as being representative of the public record. So there are about 26 documents that are
that should be
deficient or completely missing.
I did want to make one comment about how I think Zena's done a fantastic job under the circumstances that I've spoken to her about a lot of this and went through some of it with her. One of the other things we've been asking for since we first got on council was a copy of all the contracts he has signed, and Zena was showing me how a lot of times contracts were missing, weren't signed, weren't there, so she has to deal with that on top of everything else, and all of those open record.
But I think that's some of the things Brad and Zena have had to come into, and Chief, I know you're aware of it too, that it's just we're recreating and to do things to meet the standards which our citizens need. So, any other comments?
Are these things correctable?
In most instances they are, except she can't create a document where she wasn't here and has no record of. So some of it just has to fall on the wayside, but most of it can either be signed or brought up to speed, and she's been able to do that.
Great.
I think it's curable in most instances.
Great.
There's a legal liability if we don't do this because it's, and now that we're aware of it, we have to correct it. I will also say this, that for anybody who isn't of value in the live streaming and the recording of this, I can tell you right now that being able to recreate and having those documents plays a great facilitation in case anything happens, whether it's a cyber attack or just where things weren't done, you have the ability to recreate. So I'm pleased with that. Any other comments? I'd like to move, yeah.
I move to approve the,
Acceptance. The actual city secretary.
That's right. The acceptance of some point in the consent agenda for actual city secretary report.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Well, second by, she beat you. Jason. Seconded by Paula. Any other comments? Any other questions?
Mayor, can I make a comment?
Yeah, sure.
In reference to the, I think it was Councilperson Weller's comment about the city contracts. I know that was a question last year, and Finance Department was putting that all together. Unfortunately, Jaime's not here tonight, but we can check into that because I know that there was a spreadsheet. If I'm correct, it was a spreadsheet that Sheila had put together beforehand, getting a list of all the city contracts. So that should be hopefully readily available. So we'll check on.
Ready before the budget.
Yeah, we'll check on that. We'll check on that. But yeah, we were working on it at one point, and I know there was a spreadsheet. So
Yeah, I know we were talking about a couple contracts which he was in here, so that's why I brought it up.
okay, we'll follow up on it for you.
Okay, appreciate it.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Then I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor? We pass it 7-0. Moving on to, we just got to the committee reports. The committee reports, Parks and Recreation.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so another great week for the Parks and Recreation Committee. Of course, we're going to talk first, I'll go about the Astros event, which I mentioned briefly about July 15th. Laura Ford's been doing a fantastic job. She has her crew over there. Nancy Lynn, April, she's been working with Michelle Barrett, and Kate Frazier. You got everybody on board, all hands on deck, including Chief helping us out, get set up. We're going to have it inside here. So we'll start lining up outside. We're going to have a DJ. We are going to have the jelly truck. We are going to have face painters out there. And we have a couple other surprises that they're working on right now that I don't have it ready to announce, but hopefully for the next council meeting, we'll have all that ready to go, put it out there and advertising. But yes, we will have a couple of Astros players, maybe one, I'm not sure if it's two, but we definitely will have one that will be here to sign autographs. It's going to be two for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I didn't hear that. Is it confirmed? Okay, great. So we'll have two Astros players that will be here signing autographs. So we'll come in here, take a picture with Orbit and the World Series trophy, and then we go over here on the other side of the room, autographs and photographs with the former Astros players. So that's going to be a really exciting event. We're working hard on it. So taking up most of our volunteer hours. So I hope you can enjoy it. Join us to enjoy that event. The second thing is the baseball field has been implemented. There's been people out there enjoying it. I think you heard about the football tournament. I was out there this weekend. It looks like it's growing a little bit of grass on there. Now, one thing I have to mention is that this baseball field was just for practice. It's not supposed to be a regulation, fancy, be all end all baseball field. It's really just for the neighborhood to play wiffle ball, to do kickball, so kids can play and do practice games. So, we're working on it still. There's some flooding over there that I know Paul and his crew are going to work on getting us the dirt filled in there and to get the weeds taken care of. So, if you have any questions about that baseball field, feel free to reach out to me. It was relatively inexpensive at $6,800. So people are enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to seeing us get out there this summer. The second thing is that we have the path that is going to be built that's going through there that will have parking, and we'll have a path for golf cart and another path for walkers. It will repair the entire sidewalk that's broken and cracked. So that will be nice because it will also be ADA accessible so that people will be able to get in the park who aren't going to be able to get in there.
That's a later agenda item too.
It is a later agenda item that we'll be talking about, but I'm real excited about that because we're also a lot of work on that. And staff, we've got some new water fountains that are going in. We still, I think, only have like 2 left that need to go in. But some of the broken water fountains that were in Storm Lagoon and Howard Ward have been fixed. We still need one more in David Braun, and then a couple with bottle fillers that will be going in on the path towards the peninsula and also by the baseball field. So that's kind of exciting. Also, Mike Barrett has been working on, he's in charge of doing the Founders Park, which is the park at the end of Point Lookout. He cleared out all the trees there so you can actually see the lake again. It looks nice if you haven't been down there. We put in some, the Swindoll family donated money, and we got some from the Parks Committee to put in more flowers down there. Hopefully you've been enjoying all the flowers that have been popping up around. But we're in the process of getting a ramp put back in there again with a little pathway for cars to park up there and launch a small kayak there. That should be happening in the next couple of months. To that note, Mike Barrett mentioned that he had called the Parks and Wildlife and you could request fish to go in the pond. And they showed up with a couple hundred bass to put in the Lake Nassau. That's good for the algae. It does help us like as an eco-friendly thing. So he's going to keep up with that because you have to request it, and he did that. He told us that they showed up.
Even more. I want to broaden that if you don't mind an interruption.
Yeah, sure.
This is where volunteerism really makes a difference, and one person can make a difference without even really knowing. He called up just to inquire. He didn't call to schedule it. He didn't call there. Was trying to just find out the rules of the game as to how to have proper stocking of Lake Nassau. And they were saying, well, you're timely because we're going out and doing things. We probably can't catch you this time. We'll probably put you on for the next one. But apparently one of the stops, there was a problem. They had a whole bunch of fish that they needed to stock. And because Mike Barrett had made that inquiry, they came to Nassau Bay. And we have, and I wish he was here, he had a term for those fish. Dumple fingers or something along that. That's my, but there were like very much going to be well stocked.
Really cool, and that doesn't cost anything for us. There's a lot of things that we can do. James has talked a lot about that, and involving different areas to help us develop our beautiful spaces here. And you mentioned that if you turn the Lake Nassau blue, there's some chemicals you put in there. It helps with the algae. That's what they told us. So we're going to explore that a little bit. You might be kind of interested in seeing that Lake Nassau blue. So that was kind of cool. The other thing is I want to thank Chase for continuing on the street numbering project. I have an injury, so I haven't been able to help out much with the continuing to paint that. But we have like a little beta project, and we're going to be continuing to paint the street numbers for the people that want it or actually need it. And I appreciate Chase all his work on that. So we're going to continue to do that. We're adding a couple more benches that I would approve. And about adding the community garden, it's something we've talked about for a long time. There's a couple of green spaces where we thought to add in some pollinating gardens, some butterfly garden, a community garden where we could put vegetables and just have a training situation for the children. This helps with the Texas Beautiful Charter and the Beautiful Charter. The more educational things we do like that and environmentally friendly things we do, the more access to grants we have. And that helps us also keep our charter. I did speak to Jim over here before about talking about building some community garden type stuff that we're going to talk about in the future as well. We also talked about our floating dock that Jim Stoa has been talking to me about since I got on council. Down in David Braun, you notice there's not only a place to launch into the Creekside. It's sort of like a drop off on the platform. So we talked about putting in a floating dock there. We're going to put that into the budget, and we're going to continue exploring that with a vendor to come in and give us a presentation. In Howard Ward Park, we're working, I think Paul already said he's going to put this in the budget next year to redo that track there because the track's kind of overrun in Howard Ward Park where you're walking with grass and things like that. So we're going to take a look at that. And we also talked about getting a few things fixed up like the floating, not the floating, but the little walking path over across from the pavilion by the meters where you can walk. That needs a little bit of repairs on it too. So we're going to work on that. So yeah, it's been really exciting. Of course, as usual, we're very ambitious and we have a great group. Tonight we also have to fill a vacancy and I'll mention that before we talk about filling the vacancy. I've been asking every night, every time I come in here, if anybody wants to come to the meeting, please come. If you'd like to volunteer, please volunteer. We do have that empty space where we put in the boat, the police boat, over on Leeward Lane. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. It's down like Leeward, tore down those condos, and there's where our boat is. But that land there is kind of yucky now and not really developed. So we're going to build Fireman's Park there. And I had somebody who came to me and told me that they wanted to help out with that project. So that's another exciting thing. We're going to make a nice little park there with some beautiful trees and things like that. So that's another thing to talk about. But anyway, I encourage everyone to come to the meetings. It's the next one is June the oh my gosh. I think it's the 24th.
Anything else?
June the 21st. The next one's June the 21st here at 6 p.m. Come and join in and listen to what we have going on. Thank you very much.
Councilor, Waller, you forgot the Lord, you resident down to,
Yes, I'm
which
sorry.
is, I'd like to actually
Go ahead, please.
They are Nestor, Nellie, and their 3 children, Nigel, Neville, and Nancy. The nutrients that are down there, I don't know if y'all know that, they are down in the lake. We have them, and as this is really important for everybody to know that, yes, they're very nice to watch, they're very nice to see. Please do not try to touch them to transmit diseases, and so we'll probably have to get guys to come in, rehome them to different locations, but just want to get everybody that heads up. Also, two other things for the lake, for duck pond. One, I can say that this is before the stocking, and my son caught a 9-inch perch. Yeah, which I was shocked because I've never seen fish that big before coming out of that lake, which is amazing. And then second to that, there were some kids that were down along the waterway that were playing right next to a couple of water moccasins. And so it's snake season. They're out and about. It's nice and hot. So just everybody pay attention when they're out there walking around.
Yes, and I have to make mention because I'm seeing some of the faces out in the things is that nutrient. There's a quite a how should I say different perception in different groups about the good or the evil of these nutrients.
They're God's creatures.
Anyways, I'm moving on. Special events.
All right. So I have a few things about 4th of July. The first of the many events that we have going on that day will be the Water Wars. If you're not familiar with it, it's a citywide water fight. It will be between noon and 2 p.m. on the 4th of July. It's a lot of fun for kids, but there's some adults that get into it too, you know. It really is a good time. Some people have ice cold water. Some people have mechanisms on a golf cart to shoot people as they're driving by. No trucks or cars or things like that. But if you have a golf cart, a bike, a wagon, or on your feet, I've even seen people use scooters and hovercraft and whatever else, hoverboards. Come join us. It's a lot of fun. To be able to participate, you get a bandana, and you can pick them up on July 3rd or 4th between 9 and 10 at 1503 Davon. We'll be set up there, probably doing some sidewalk chalking, hanging out, and handing out the bandanas, and we'll have the maps. The map is just slightly changed from last year, so we'll be able to show you what that map looks like, and hopefully we'll get the city website updated with the addresses for this year. One small change. And then we'll also have the 4th of July celebration at the park that day. So at David Bond Park, we'll have food trucks, live music, some fun games. There will also be the pie contest. And we will have prize categories in the pie contest for best presentation, best taste, best apple pie, which was requested. So hopefully some people have some good apple pies, and grand champion. We will have a sign-up link for that, and I'll give you some information on how to get that in just a second. At 6 p.m., we have our parade. We mentioned that parade, the first one. I did not know that John Matter had started that. It's one of my favorite things. I love parades. So that will be leaving from Glory Day. If you'd like to join us, you can line up at 5 o'clock at Glory Day. We welcome everybody to come join us. We will have some float judging going on for Little Firecracker, Wagons and Wheels, Most Patriotic, Oldest Veteran, and Grand Champion, which will be a lot of fun. If you're a veteran and you want to get in the parade, we have Jill and Doug Abel are the ones that are going to be coordinating veterans riding the parade. And so hopefully you can hear or contact them. What's on the Nassau Bay website right now is wrong, so it's a wrong phone number and email. You can always contact me and I'll get you the right information for what you need. And then the fireworks, they're going to launch that night at 9 p.m. from the peninsula. And like I said, the city website has some errors right now on it for what's going on for the 4th of July events. So please reach out to me if you have questions. You can find me in the city council on the city website, or I've taken the website that I had that was Nassau Bay Lucie, and it's LUCIE.com. And if you look there, it's the article that I'd written for the Compass Rose, and it has the information. It doesn't look pretty yet because I literally just made it tonight to be able to give something easy for information.
Is your plan to post it on the City of Nassau Bay Facebook page and
Yes, I
everything
can,
like that?
if you can help me post on the Facebook page, I can do that. So I have the information, I have the Compass Rose article, everything. I just put it on my own website right now so people could easily access it. And I'll make it look a little prettier maybe later tonight, but NassauBayLucyIE.com. And again, if you have questions, let me know. And if you want to volunteer, especially at the park, I know we get a lot of people that come to the park, and it's a lot of fun. But if you'd like to be there just to help, be an extra set of hands, help with parking, anything like that, just let us know. We would love to have volunteers for the event. And that's all I've got.
That works.
Are you putting up the signs again for the veterans? I think you mentioned that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We have the list, and if there are modifications, again, it would be Jill and Doug. That's on that nassaubays.com, and hopefully we'll get it updated on the city Facebook and website.
So if anybody knows a veteran that lives in Nassau Bay or maybe not on the list, they might want to reach out to them.
Yeah, and again, they can check with me if they're on the list. Yes.
Or check with Lucy. You guys want to let her know there's a veteran in Nassau Bay that we can.
And how would they get a hold of you?
Chase is a veteran.
You can, I don't know if you're on there or not. You can, my city email is really long, so it's probably easier just to go to the city website and look it up, but it's lucie.johannes.sommer@NassauBay.com.
Lucy Johannes
I
Sommer,
know.
something like that?
But if you go to Nassau Bay Lucy with an IE, it's easier to remember. So let's try to.
Thanks, Lucy. Great job.
And you wouldn't have a phone number or anything?
I do have a phone number. It's 832-338-1828.
I didn't hear that. Say that again, please.
832-338-1828, or go to the city website.
There you go.
I should have. Yes.
Anything else?
That is all I have. That's a lot. It'll be
works.
a lot of fun, and we look forward to it.
We finally get to new business, and I'm going to push forward. This is the discussion and action, the appointment of the mayor pro tem. And I've put a lot of thought into this. There's obviously we have quite a talented group here, but I'd like to propose that we make Lucy Sommer the mayor pro tem, and happy to discuss it, or we would love to have and to do so.
I would like to motion that we appoint Mayor Pro Tem Lucy Summers, SOMRS.
Yeah, two.
I'll have to go to our website to find it, but one way or another, I think we will all kind of spell it afterwards.
Yep. And seconded by Michelle. Any other questions? Any further that I'd like to call?
My one comment is this: understandably, Lucy, your work does take internationally. Mr. Mayor, your vacations take you so internationally. Just to make sure that we don't have issues with both of you transpiring not being here, as the rule is to be here when the other one's not.
Yeah.
Please be coordinated.
Yeah, sure.
Coordinating.
That works. All right. Then I would like to call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. Thank you, everybody, and congratulations.
Looking forward to it.
Next is the discussion action, the proposed fiscal year 23-24 budget schedule. Who was going to handle that, Chief?
Sure. The budget schedule is included in the packet there. I don't know that there's much discussion. Jaime would usually handle that. He's not here right now. I know one of the things he did mention, any meeting with council could not occur before that Monday, June 26th planning workshop because of because of the finance department's situation right now and the delays that we've had in the last couple of weeks. That we're not going to be ready before the 26th. So that'd be the earliest we could do a full budget workshop with the council.
June 26th?
Yeah,
June 26th. It should be in your highlight, should be the first one highlighted.
If you look in your packet, it's near the middle. I think you've seen it. They did a very good job of highlighting in green the things here. When I looked at it, my only comment is the number of budget workshops are probably light. I don't believe we're going to do as much structurally this time as we did last time. Remember, we also had the water rates, things along that line. But I do believe we're going to have some things for financing and looking at how we can leverage more on the water and sewer fund. But I think we're going to need more workshops than basically the current, basically, 3 workshops that are here.
I agree.
Mr. Mayor, again, I would like to suggest that, since unfortunately Heidi's not here, but there's no to what we're trying to do here, which is approve this budget to allow everybody to schedule. I think that what we should look at doing is that after the first meeting of Monday, June 26th, after that we assess and then look at doing what we did last year, which was to set up those special meetings.
I think that's right. I mean, I don't think my point of making that comment is please look at your schedules. We always seem to tend to move into kind of rushed timing to be able to meet the what's here is the September 11th. I don't know if that's the final date, but it's got to be really. We got to. No, because there's timing before that has to meet. So it's gonna be in. I'm just gonna throw September 15th, September 16th. To have the lead time to be available by the 28th is critical. And so we look at your schedules and let's be prepared to really lock down some dates.
And Mayor, my members on council, what we ended up doing after the first meeting was actually meet because the budget was very important to everyone involved and making sure that we had a grasp around what was going on. So happy everybody's along with the budget.
I'm happy to do that as well, James. I think that there's a lot of things that are left open, and then we have the interruptions with change of staff. So I agree.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to motion to approve the calendar for the budget cycle for FY 23 and 24.
Just know it's going to change on the 26th.
But as is,
Sure. Do I hear a second? Second by Lucy. You gotta be quick.
Yeah, no,
But you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. For us newbies, can we get information before that? And is there any way to get comparative numbers, last year's budget?
So what I'd like to do is, can we get together? Let's get some things here for information to the folks, which would be just like the approved budget from last year. Just get the fundamental stuff.
That's available. And I think Brad Stafford has scheduled some appointments individually with council members to go over some of those questions that you have, Ms. Tomasi. So the only other thing I would have to caution about weekly meetings is for council to take into consideration that staff is still stretched very thin, trying to handle the daily operations of the city. So being mindful of not overburdening the staff with weekly meetings, if possible.
I appreciate that, but I think that the budget of the city and the taxpayers' dollars are very important to be able to line out what is required and what the steps are.
And rather than defining that right now, all I'm saying is I think we need more than here. I don't know if it's going to go weekly. I would tend to think that I hope we can. My hope is that the budget coming out of this last cycle is in much better shape than what it was before. So we don't have the work that needs to be done. But again, that's going to be we're going to know more on the 26th.
Correct.
Okay. Then any other questions? Then all those in favor? Passes 7-0. Next is 9.3, the discussion action of the City of Nassau Bay participation in the Harris County CDBG Home in the ESG program for fiscal years 2024 and 2026. Pardon me? It didn't get, it looks like 9.2, but it's not.
It's right here.
And I'm assuming that, Brad, I think what I heard was you put this on the agenda?
I didn't put it on, but I was asked to look into it.
Or were you going to look at it?
My understanding was that Councilman Summers,
but so Paul and I both looked into it, and Paul had a meeting with David Casper. I had already told Paul I was afraid that the city would probably not, after I read through the entire package, be difficult for us to qualify here in Nassau Bay. But I'll let Paul tell you what he and Dave also came up with.
Yeah. I'll let Paul go and then I'll-
Okay.
And then there's been a lot of research, but let's go forward.
So we're working with a group called Public Management, and so he is searching for grants and things for us, but he also said to also reach out to Harris County, the entitlement program, and then it's through the Texas Department of Agriculture. So we're looking at that, and then also be reaching out to Harris County for some grants and some help also too. So he's actively trying to search for some grants for us. And you
Yes,
guys-
there are two separate things. Yeah, so the first was the grant through the, you're gonna have to look with the letters, the,
Community development block
CD
grant.
Yeah, CD,
block
yeah.
grant. I call it the block.
So that's what we actually meant with correct. And we thought it would be difficult to get something in time for the current call that came out for that grant. So we did meet with David Casper and with the grant writer and decide that, hey, this isn't something that we have a good case to put in for just because of the size of the projects, how much we have to contribute in the state of any projects that we have. We don't have anything proposed. But it's my understanding that this letter that we got is something different than that. And so when we were meeting with the grant writer, I did ask him if he thought we should sign up to be part of that partnership or not. And he actually sent an email back and said that he thought if we partnered with the state instead of Harris County, which is kind of what we're doing now, we're trying to be part of Harris County, that we would have a better chance. And he said that he thinks that he could, not every year, but try to propose some $500,000 type projects that would be beneficial to our neighborhood if we went with that state route, which I need to read again the CDBG home versus the ESG programs, but that letter we got for the 2024 to 2026 timeframe, that's what, I don't know if everyone has seen it on council or if I've just read it and seen it, I don't know.
I would assume they have not.
Okay. And so it basically talks about if we want to partner, I think our decision is going to have to be if we want to partner with the state and be part of their program or stay bundled under Harris County. And so Michael McGard, yeah, he was the one that said if we partner with the state, we'll probably have a better chance of getting funding than if we're with Harris County because there's a lot of similarly competing, I would guess, projects in Harris County for what we'd be looking for, but the state would probably have a better chance. So that's what that 2024 to 2026 letter is. That's independent. I think we pretty much decided that we couldn't make anything work with that grant that was due this week, I think, to have a proposal. And we couldn't come up with something that was easy to fit into what the selection criteria would be beneficial for the city. So, but the other one is if we want to become a partnership with it. And it actually in that letter listed what local municipalities were partners with them. I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but I can find it and review it again. But do you remember the date when we had to make that decision by on that one?
I don't remember what that, it was pretty good. It was a week, yeah.
Because I know the grant was this week, the 13th was the due date. I believe it was the 13th to do that one. But the other one on our partnership decision.
The Harris County is July 7th.
July 7th, okay. Okay.
Still tight.
It is tight. And how we want to go forward with it and what makes the most sense. And I do trust.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of these grant writers work off a success fee so that we can either retain them or do something, but we really don't pay unless they, get a grant that's actually successfully granted.
That's correct. Point of clarity on that, just so everyone's aware that these types of grants that we're going for, inside of that, the fee for any grant writer is built into the overhead of that, and you can charge that back to the grant. And that's how you actually.
But I'm even saying one more is I really like the idea of success fees rather than just
remember there is always a matching fee. Fee as
Yeah.
well. But yes, the people like DMI, they work off of
success.
Yeah. And so if you get it, then they are
very common in our industry. So and they
Well,
work
it's
well.
actually thinking that you have there for how people that was we have been talking about grants also since the beginning of the last budget session.
Yes.
Didn't want to go into and look at it really creatively. You brought that up, thank you.
Do you need any support from us? Anything in order to maybe, let this guy, do his thing for grant writing and do, or
I think
what do you?
there's two steps here.
Okay.
I think the first step is that we need to decide whether or not we want to be part of that 2024 to 2026 Harris County, that participation in that program, or if we want to go independent of it. And with that, we have an initial recommended grant writer, but I would like us to perhaps have another conversation with what our assumptions are about what this program is and what we can do with it. Make sure he's on board with that's the better decision for what he thinks he could help us do. And then as a second step, start working with him to identify projects and with our whoever else.
But the deadline's before the next council.
Correct.
Councilmember, so I'm just, so also I have experience with doing several grants. And I can tell you that it's much better to partner with the state than it is to partner with a municipality.
With Harris.
And it's nothing against that, the county or anything like that. It's just that there's a bigger bandwidth from the state level, what the impact will be to the residents of that area. So I've done several of those and seen the impact when I was at the AM system. So I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, that's what you said, state over county is where we should partner. I don't recall if it was an agreed to or not, since I don't have the language in front of me on this participation, but I'm gonna guess it's a no. For this specific.
Why don't we just do this? I don't know how explicit you need or at all. Maybe it's something within the city manager, acting city manager's authority, but have a meeting and then, we should empower that group to go to the direction, because this is grant. We don't get it if we don't play. So if we don't play, we can't get it.
Decide which one we want to play.
I think too many cooks here will spoil the broth. I don't mind if yourself and, Paul and either the chief or Brad, if you guys meet with this guy, decide, I would entertain a motion to be able to empower that to make a decision so that we can participate by the July 7th.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we appoint council member for Mayor Pro Tem Lucy Summers to reach out to grant writer in conjunction with the individuals that you stated, both Paul Lopez and acting city manager, to assess the viability of moving forward on that prior to the 24 and to 26 fiscal year program.
And engage the consultants.
Yes, we will engage him.
Yes. Okay.
And we had David Castor was involved as well. I think we've already got this set up to.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Chase. Any other questions? Then I call for,
Just for clarification, so we engage with the grant writer. He's going to look for other grants that we may be able to be eligible for. So
above and beyond.
Right. Until that happens, we're not involved with the grant applications. But we're going to just reach out to him and see what's available at step one.
Step one is to decide if we want to participate in this Harris County program or not, which it sounds like not, but we want to make sure that we're not missing anything in that decision.
Sure.
And then the second part of that is David Casper did say he could have some projects to kind of start formulating that he could present to the grant writer as 4 options when these things do come up. So when they come up and there's a 30-day open thing, we're not starting from scratch. We've got some initial seeds.
Shelf.
Yeah, we've got some seeds that we can start working. So I think it's both of those things.
Okay.
Yeah. But I see very little other than providing guidance to this grant writer, not really the heavy lifting, because he's going to do it as part of the success fee. Yeah.
Yeah,
Correct.
so David Castor would have to help us identify, I think, the projects, and then the grant writer would.
And we already have like 3 or 4.
We did. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions? Any other clarifications? Yeah, I know. So I was going to call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. Stay up there, Paul. Discussion action awarding the bid proposal for the project 2023-01, the sidewalk expansion at David Braun Park.
Yes, Mayor. So we went out for bid for the expansion project, and we received 10 bids. We're pretty happy. We should arranged everything from $49,000 to about $116,000. And so this was recommended by the Parks Committee, approved by council, and it's going to expand from the animal shelter, expanded 9 feet. It's gonna wrap all the way around to the baseball field and end up at the pickleball. And that will also include 12 areas for golf carts at the baseball field, and then about 6 more areas for golf cart parking at the pickleball.
Yeah, that whole asphalt thing. This is all concrete, right?
All concrete.
I can't believe you got that for 50 grand.
That's great. And can I ask a question? Okay, so we just, with the area where that sidewalk is all cracked and broken, that's all going to be repaired?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
You set it up for 6 additional parking spots there by the pickleball?
Yes. Yes. So, and so this is the bid came out pretty good. So we have a little money. We could play with it and add some things. Yes.
Can I ask you, because I remember during the Parks Committee meeting, we said maybe we could put the cement at the entrance of the 2 dog park entrances. We were going to try to get them to do that while they were there.
Yes, we got the bid, and actually Troy is that them funds may be donated. He's working on that.
Oh, okay,
So
so
that may, and if not, we can put that into this project.
Thank you.
I have a question as well. Can the compass that's stamped in the concrete, can we fix that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's part of the plan?
Yeah. Yes.
Paul, put in that, is that the walkway to the practice tennis wall going to be demolished? Since you get no gate to enter there?
It can be. It can be. Like I said, with this quote, this bid coming in so low, we were able to do a little bit more things.
Just for everybody's, for the audience too, what I remember was this was authorized up to $75,000. And this came in at about a hair under, I'm not going to say 49, it came at really 49.9 and some change. So it's 50,000. So that would say there's some
we have
$25,000 of discretionary
The other thing I
availability.
remember we talked about was at the practice tennis court, maybe putting down the cement there as well to fix that at the same time if we had, were you including that?
I don't think so. That's too much.
The practice tennis court to level that?
And once we have a pre-construction meeting, I'll be able to address some areas.
Point of order here, we've got $25,000. We also have some other discretionary that if we want to look at something, let's do a little bit more organized. Like, because I think there's some things we can do.
Thank you.
All I know is I'm anything at all that would inhibit the time frame, or what is your chronology for putting this in?
I will send the email confirmation tomorrow, so hopefully we can get them to mobilize, maybe by next month, beginning of next month.
That'd be fantastic.
Or sooner.
'Cause I'm for people here, we said we were not going to do a golf cart path unless we were assured that the safety portions of it and this widening and the unidirectional flow was going to do that. But it also it's the reason why this is so important is it allows for the citizens that have disabilities, whether they're young or old. The only way that they can get into certain areas is by golf cart, and this is going to be compliant for ADA, so that we can have people come back. And I've actually heard more things from citizens about grandparents wanting to see things that are activities down at the baseball park or things like that than for younger kids. So this is a really important path. So I applaud how fast you've done this one.
And this will take that hump out of by the pickleball.
Yeah,
Well, that's a lot of safety right there, because there's places you can trip, including places
7
people are
inches.
parking now.
It's 7 inches.
So that's great.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to motion that we approve the awarding bid proposal for project 2023-01 sidewalk expansion at Haverhall Park to, I believe the bidder is Queen Constructors LLC.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second, Michelle. Any other questions or comments?
Mayor, I had one, if I
Yeah.
can. Before project is completed, we need to amend the ordinance for the golf carts out of the park, so that once the golf cart path is usable, that the ordinance fits that it can be useful, because right now it would be a whole.
It would. And
Yeah,
we
so
did
we're
that
gonna
on
need-
purpose.
Yeah, we're gonna.
That was a conscious decision.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're gonna look at that.
And the thing was, we don't want everywhere. We want it where we've made it safe.
Sure. Sure,
So-
we'll just have to make sure we.
Correct. I agree. Any other comments? Any other questions? Then I call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. This is great. Discussion actions for the ordinance number 2023-06-12 of the City Council of the City of Nassau Bay, Texas, amending the municipal code, Article 6 of the short-term rental sections of 11-113- enforcement to update an additional violation. Section is 11-105- short-term rental permitting, amending subsection 6 and sections 11-117 penalty. This is the first reading.
It's fine too, of what our existing ordinance. It's fairly modest changes, but their first one would be the right now it's a violation not to actually apply for a permit and have a permit. This now makes it also another violation if you advertise an STR and have not got your permit. So the act of advertising becomes a violation in addition to that failing to have an actual permit. Secondly, it just highlights the fact that the code has designated short-term rentals as a hotel for tax purposes, but not for zoning purposes. So for taxing purposes, it can be treated like a hotel, even though it's privately owned. Those are the modest changes that have been made, and
The penalty.
the penalty. There was some confusion before about maybe being able to go to 3,000. That's not the case. The maximum fine under the law is 2,000, and so it triggers the maximum at 2,000 and not 3,000. Those are the changes.
Yes, with the current ordinance that's in place in 2019, this addresses deficiencies in the subsection, not the body, is that correct?
That's correct.
And
Any other questions?
Is this considered an amendment or is this considered like a new ordinance?
It's an amendment to the existing ordinance, and the ordinance is an amendment.
So the way I'm looking at it, Sarah, just to talk in regular speak, even though you both are lawyers, and in layman's terms, this is being done as a first and second reading, which would be like it's a whole new amendment.
And this is the first reading.
And this is the first reading, and there's been a public hearing.
There was a public hearing tonight.
That allows people to consider this, people who want to see the ramifications, and be able to have input on the second reading.
Correct.
And it sounds like the changes that have been made are not substantially changing the ordinance.
They don't change the thrust. They change a little bit to tighten up the ability to control violators by making sure that they not only do they have to have a permit, but they cannot advertise unless they have a permit. So there's two different violations instead of the one that's in existence right now.
And just a little background on that, I found out that there was like 17 to 20 apartments that were unregistered, that I will be personally talking about this for the people that are new. I even found that the Sapphire manager come in, and I did email her and let her know she got rid of them. So this will help us enforce, especially when you have these apartments, it's very difficult to find out who the owner is.
Yeah.
So in my mind, a potential outcome is those STRs under the city authority, they will, that are operating properly, will have a number of people coming under scrutiny who are not operating properly, that are either going to go away or will, you will be, like you mentioned before, follow the law.
That's correct.
I'd be happy if you have a quick comment, Kathy.
If the city partnered with Airbnb and VRBO to remit taxes directly from VRBO and Airbnb and require a permit number on the registration for Airbnb and VRBO, you would not have any unregistered.
I'm going to say, I mean, not for tonight, just here is, I would really like us to look into some of hers, because I was going to raise this in the comments that Mary's brought out suggestions both on how to simplify the collection of hotel tax, as well help us regulate and maintain control over those who advertise or who put on.
Clarity on this is that the state of Texas Comptroller's Office has partnered with them, and they are supposed to be paying whatever they are, those short-term rentals are supposed to be paying them directly with that, and it's supposed to be coming back to us. So that is a condition that the state comptroller put on them. They partnered with that to alleviate the city having to do that directly.
To collect the taxes.
In Texas.
Galveston has a direct payment.
Yeah, all I know is I'd like, if
I
you,
may, please.
yeah, sure.
Is that the important thing here is that we have legislation that's coming out in the 88th session, the legislative session. And so some things that have been discussed during that legislative session may supersede even what we're proposing here.
And you're going to one seminar and I'm going to another one this coming this
Yeah,
week.
correct, we are.
Yeah.
But again, I just, without going into those details, because we're not prepared to define those details now. All I know is, Mary, you brought up at least two suggestions that I think we as staff should look into that could benefit our ability to manage these STRs and make sure we get our tax.
And Mr. Mayor, point clarity again is that this is only the first reading.
Yeah, correct.
So
Correct. Okay.
there's no vote.
There's no vote. Correct. Okay. Any other comments? Any other questions?
So if somebody wanted to comment and get a response, who would they?
You mean
who would
now?
They direct it to?
Now?
No,
Tonight?
over before the second reading.
At the adjournment of this city council meeting, how would people get more information?
Right, and who would they get that information to? Who and how? Do they, if people have other information that they want us to look into or share, because this is such a hot topic, do they?
It depends on the nature of their question would be here. If it's a legal question, I think quite honestly, I'd like it to go to either Brad Chief and I just to help us do triage as to where it goes.
Okay.
If that works. Pardon me?
Not now.
I've been doing it tonight. I've got to be careful because is it
You shouldn't open the door.
No, it's less than 30 days. Yes.
Does that affect people that like for example, my mom took a missionary in for a couple of weeks. Like, is it that kind of thing, or is it just like commercial, like Airbnb kind of thing? I'm just didn't think.
They're registered. They're registered as a hotel.
They're registering.
Underneath those, they're registered as a short-term rental.
Correct.
So like Airbnb, BTRO, all those
They
are
are
actually considered hotels. That's why they have hotel taxes. If somebody does a lease with the city, that's just a lease for a period of time. That's a bit different.
Yeah, it is. This is for ongoing rental. Yes.
The other thing to consider is that the courts have made it clear that the green light is for homes associations to prescribe and require that any lease will be more than 30 days or 30 or whatever number of days they want to do. But to set the minimum or the minimum time that has to be on a rental. And that's being considered by several home associations. That's not the city, that's contractually under your deed restrictions. We've got different home associations. But that's the more effective way to deal with it because the state has been hostile to cities enforcing this kind of thing. And we probably will continue to be.
Okay. Any other comments? Any other questions? Then I'm going to hold this over to the second reading for next month. The next is the discussion action, the resolution of 2023-06-12 of the city of Nassau Bay, Texas, designating a representative and an alternate to the Houston Galveston Area Council General Assembly. And if I can be a little bit prescriptive here, James, you've been actively involved. You've inquired to be that representative. Ashley is no longer on council. I think the natural selection would be yourself. And Chase, I'd love if you would participate. I haven't asked you, but I would love to get you involved and to do stuff. Is that the two of you act as our representative and alternate, unless people have unless I'm going to ask Paula and I'm going to ask Sarah if you're interested in doing this. Let us know. But I mean, I would just in the expediency just push it along.
I think James is a no-brainer since.
Yep.
I would love to.
Sarah, Paula,
No, I'm good. No, I'm happy to.
Then I would like a motion. I'd like to entertain a motion to define the representative and alternate for the city of Nassau Bay to the Houston Galveston Area Council.
I'd like to make a motion that we define James Abbey as our representative for the Houston Galveston Area Council General Assembly and define our alternate as Chase Whitewell.
Second by Paula. Any further comment? All in favor? Passes 7-0. Okay. Discussion and update on code enforcement. And there's 3 areas here, which is the Kingstown Court, the parking lot up on Upper Bay Road and Nassau Road 1, and short-term rental.
The Kingstown Court.
Let's do the Jameson property.
Yeah, well, I think it's fair to say we were in transition with the building official, and some confusion arose over the electrical pole and getting power to it. And there was some confusion as to whether the application had been filed, whether the permit had been issued, whether Centerpoint was ready to act. And then Centerpoint did a stutter step for us. They're now, I think everybody's on the same page now. It looks like everybody's moving in the right direction. I think that pretty well characterizes where we've been. Everybody's acting in good faith. We had some miscommunication.
I'd have one request, Dick, and it's probably Herman that he just walked in, would be somebody I would really like his help on. Is the topic is this is my favorite one, 18410 Kingstown, Court. There's a contract involved and there's a timeline, and I know there's been some confusion and things like that, but I would like some definition as to where we are in that contract relative to the timing. There was certain work was supposed to need to have be done at certain milestones, and I'd just like to get an assessment of where that is, because if I look at people who know what I'm talking about, there's been very little work out there, and there has been a lot of confusion, but I would like to get some definition, because I don't want to get to the end of this contract and us not know somebody is or isn't in default or whatever. I'd like to know where we are.
I mean, we need your help with that so that we know that
Correct.
somebody on the ground is doing something with it. Because right now, I'm not in a position in my office to know what's happening in the work on the house. You will be in that position.
So Herman, if you need some help with it, get the contract, find out, where. I'd be happy to go over, because the city manager and myself was involved very, very intimately in making sure that contract. That was Paul McClarney at the time, and have been pushing that. And there was, basically was supposed to be completed with, don't give me exactly, about 180 days. And we've got to be good 120 into that 180 days. So we need to define where we are and what things we may have to do legally to make sure we keep them on track.
I agree with that.
We'll have to, I'm not sure that the building department and the new building official, Herman, has been privy to that contract just yet with those deadlines. So we'll have to get that to them.
We're going to coordinate with that.
Yeah. We just need an assessment of where that is. Otherwise, my fear is that a lot of the citizens who live by their concerns that activity won't get done may come true.
Mr. Mayor, if I can real quick, as the address 18-410 Kingstown Court over Memorial Day weekend, I was here in town, so I was driving around and happened to see a jacked up pickup truck with several fishing poles and coolers in the back of it, and some people actually get out and go into the home. And that was not during contracting hours, which would have been traditionally not Memorial Day. So So I gave the information to Officer Cavazos, he had a license plate number, I gave that to him. And so just a heads up in regards to the safety, that there are other people looking around, keeping an eye out for you. So just wanted to highlight that.
Okay. Anything else you can think of, Dick? That
No, I think that's a fair analysis of it.
Arafat, anything with Arafat?
Nothing new from the last council meeting. I think last council meeting we discussed, Mayor, that there's an SUP that was in place and some time back in, and I don't remember if that was 16 or 2013 or 2016, but there was some amendments made to that SUP that removed some of the enforcement actions such as overnight parking and things like that. So, but honestly, since last meeting, and obviously we've been a little busy with some other things, there's nothing new update.
I mean, the 10 days he's been on in office.
Yeah. In the 10 days he's been here, haven't thrown him at that. So, but that's
so just to clarify, Herman, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I know we met and
he is aware of it though.
Yeah.
We have talked about some of the hot topic items. I think last week we sat down and discuss some of those things. So he's aware of it.
I would very much like to challenge you on your knowledge of different things on how we may be able to help you enforce and make a change to how that entrance to Upper Bay, road is and the number of vehicles there. It's a challenge. There's not an easy answer, but we really haven't had a lot of horsepower to really think about what all things you would need from us in order to help you. Okay.
Because there is an RV that's sitting here, somebody told me it's been there for a long time. And there's a lot of people, they say it's no overnight parking, there's vehicles that have been sitting there for months and months on it. And it's just it's a huge eyesore. People really are unhappy with it.
Okay. Any other questions there? And then short-term rentals?
Well, we talked about that.
Well, yeah, I think there was some enforcement action we were looking at, and again, this was another that was being looked at, and obviously priorities changed between last meeting and this meeting because of some of the things that took place. So I was looking into trying to do. I know we've talked with some of the council members about the number of Airbnbs that are on the maps for some of the Airbnb and Verbo and things like that. For enforcement actions, we need to be able to determine the actual address and the actual owners of those properties. And I know that's not something we can do by just looking at a picture of a property. We need to have to be able to show that they're actually, and we're trying to determine how to do that other than just the city renting or booking the different sites or the different short-term rentals and then having the actual address and everything. Because then we get
Well, several of them that I looked at, the address is right there. You can see it in the picture. The other one, what I did is I rented one of them. They give you the owner's address and the phone number, everything.
Sure, and that's the point I'm making. We can do that, but we have
he has no budget authority.
Yeah, the budget. We have to look at the budget.
So there's been no, like what we had here, somebody saying, was there any enforcement? Of
We-
that closure has been none? Is that the case? Because we can't-
We're trying to develop a way to do that, and I've been in contact with Galveston, and their marshals service down there that enforces the short-term rental ordinance for Galveston. And their comment to me is right now that they're working on the honor system the same way that we are, that somebody has to honor. Now, Galveston is looking at developing or going into contract with a software company that is supposed to be able to scrub all of these websites and be able to compile the database, notify of compliance issues, and even go back and look at previous registrations on the database, property owner manager information. Now, I haven't been able to follow through with this. This is the Decker Technologies company. I don't know if Galveston is based on the size of the city or whatever, but they're Their agreement calls for 275,000 in the first year and 265 for the next 4 years. That's a $1.3 million project over 5 years to be able to have a company come in and try to ascertain all of these individual to gather the information that we would be able to work with. I don't know that that's an option to us, but there may be something else like that. So,
Mr. Mayor, we're in discussion on this.
correct.
Just, Chief, if you can, I think that we have several call-outs to certain addresses that have been noise issue or noise related. And so there should be some records of those addresses within the call-ins from residents that are my neighbors. And I know one particularly that I can have some of the address. And I know that person has phone contacted and met with the fire marshal, has had the police out there and the like. So I think we can take incremental steps on that. I don't think that we need to have 200,000 worth of that to make it happen. But in addition to that, those residents in Nassau Bay homes received a letter from the homeowners association with a proposed amendment, and that proposed amendment actually goes farther and wider. My concern is that if that is approved, that the city does not then enforce that, because we're not enforcers for the HOA.
No,
that
you're
is not that is not our jurisdiction.
No, completely
the
agree with
ordinance
you.
Says that they have to spend $300 a year. They have to have an inspection. They have to have a fire extinguisher. The place that I stayed did not have a fire extinguisher. The pool there was not up to code. It was not locked. There was not a rescue item there. There's not a phone there. So if somebody drowns in that pool after renting it from Airbnb, if they don't have the insurance certificate that they submitted, I mean, we're in a huge liability situation. I mean, the individual homes, there's not that many of them.
So let
There's
me
20 apartments.
let me get my hands around this a little bit. Chief, in regards to some of the information, have we done any kind of reconciliation between known STRs and whether they're registered?
The known STRs and whether they're registered. No, not to my knowledge. I mean, no, and part of it is we're trying to develop and determine whose responsibility is that going to be.
And
the police department, building department, code enforcement.
The other question you and I kind of talked about before as we were looking at this, I mean, you're talking what, $200-300 of a commitment, but for those of us who've traveled a lot, there's usually a 24-hour, get out of jail free. If you bind it, you have 24 hours to be able to not commit. And then I would also think if they're not registered and if they are operating illegally, then they would be entering into a contract they would not be able to fulfill because they're illegal, and you would not be responsible for that payment. So I'm even open to setting up a $5,000 kitty if we need to have funds to be able to say, hey, how to do this. And I would think it would be something that we could manage just to be able to get these addresses and provide some enforcement on these things. I don't think we need a $300,000 thing to go after 30 people.
Already have like one police officer that went to training and did the classes on how to do all this kind of code enforcement for this type of stuff. I thought he was a hearing officer and everything. That didn't, the training, didn't we pay for that training already, Chief?
Yes, ma'am, and he is assigned to patrol. I mean, this is going to be office work that somebody's going to have to be in the office to.
That's not technically code enforcement.
Yes.
That's going to be, somebody's got to do a lot of research, and that you need to keep that in mind. Is it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
But
guys, let me. No, if you would please, I started.
And go through that.
Right, but I'm going to be here. If there's one thing I've heard from the citizens, and I know things here, and I know we've been talking about time, but this is now a year old, and we need to have some plan. Maybe we've got the people, in the building official, but between a police officer who has enforcement authority and building officials here, there's got to be a plan, because those resources are now back higher than we've ever had before in both the police department and the building official for an area that's a priority for citizens in the city. And we would, there needs to be some action and definition around how are we going to focus the resources to allow progress to be made that we can measure.
Right. You do have people now.
So if what I,
But the thing that we've got to do, it takes just a little bit of time to do that. I was talking to Dick earlier, but during the recess, there's 3 or 4 other ideas of how to find these Airbnbs or these
well,
short-term
can we
rentals
definitively
I
set,
didn't tell you, I didn't.
can we definitively set for the July meeting that we have some some basic structure of a plan as to how we're going to do that?
I don't think that's that hard to figure out. It's just that we've got to go through a process. And your staff has been tied up for weeks now with a cyber attack, with other things.
That is true.
And so it's a little bit difficult when you have very few staff members to begin with to do that. I just ask council to be cognizant of those things because it does take time and you are very shorthanded. And it's very difficult to take all of these charges and jump onto it. So, but Dick and I have already talked. We've talked about how there's some ideas of how to go and research and find these things without spending money.
Yeah,
and
I don't think we need to spend. I just think some thing. Go ahead.
Point of order and point of clarity. At the last city council meeting in May, we discussed this. There are 3 avenues by which enforcement are supposed to be done. You have the police, you have the fire marshal, and you have the buildings. Those are the 3 vehicles that issue citations that go to the municipality judge here, and those are the 3 ways to do it. We found out that we have an ordinance that's been on the books since 2019 and it has not been enforced for all that time. And that's part of the issue. And so that goes to compounding it. It wasn't an issue that we're short-term now. We never did anything about it. And I appreciate Mary's point of view of if we've got if we have the ordinances and their laws, they need to be followed. And so my view is that between the 3 different groups, there are 3 different ways to achieve those results. And if there's an issue of getting the addresses, then if I need to go and do it, I'll do it.
I actually have some, and I'd be happy to provide it. I would the work that I did on it myself. It was pretty easy actually for me to get that.
How would you like to go after that?
Mayor, you had said a second ago that there's like a 24-hour like a window. Which is true and untrue. You would need to put aside a very small
Deposit.
Deposit. However, say I booked a short-term rental right now for say June 24th. I would not immediately get that address until 2 days beforehand. So you would have to put down a deposit that you're not going to get back, which would have to come from a budget.
Point of order,
Each person,
No, I recognize her.
Okay.
I recognize her.
each Airbnb owner gets to set their own terms of if I'm giving you your deposit back
So
or not. So, but point being, you would have to schedule it for, a week out, or 2 days out from when you want to attack you by this one and give the address. You're not going to get it if it's a
Mayor,
month.
point of order, we have to have a fire inspection.
No, I agree.
And so we're gonna have to have those addresses ahead of time. They're not. They're a violation.
Yeah, what she's saying though is to the point I was making about how we have funds to do things that you can get them back. Yeah, she's saying you have to commit to some funds, but then at the same time, if they're doing it, if we find out that they're not a.
Let me give you a good example.
No, let me finish.
Okay.
If they do not follow our laws, then they can't enter into that contract. They're legally reduced, so we wouldn't be responsible for that down payment.
Yes, but
You'd lose your
you
deposit.
don't even need that,
What?
I guess we just said, there are several people that are on VRBO and Airbnb. You can see the address, you can tell what house it is, that's number 1, that's an easy one. The second one is, there was an Airbnb over at the Sapphire, went to the manager, she found that it was shut down. You can go to the manager of the Bay House, show them these apartments, they're gonna know exactly who it is. It's not that hard, really.
Yeah.
It really isn't. I
It
did it,
isn't.
and I'd be happy, like I said, I'd be happy to share what I found.
And
Or then continue to do it,
I
I'll
would
just stay
even,
another night and pay for it myself.
I would even be happy to set up a booty of $5,000 if we need to have something there, because we have the money in order to be able to facilitate this, what I think is kind of rudimentary investigation.
We can
have
certainly.
to have the information about the exact address. Yes, you can go online, yes, you can find
Yep.
it. But if I just drove by Bill's house and I put it on Airbnb with some stock photo images, that's not credible for me to go there.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
We can certainly look into it, and I may want to talk to Mary with some information if you can give me a call, because the information that you're sharing tonight is not information that was shared with me from the Galveston officials themselves. So so let us look into this and put together something.
But I think we need some concrete progress as to how we're going to tackle this, because we've got a number of different issues.
That was the goal 4 weeks ago, and then 2 weeks ago things changed, priorities, like I said.
And I'm going to be humorous here. It seems like we're about 1 month away from the past 6 months. So it's, I think this is something the citizens really want to raise in the priority, and I think we need to do that. So
I propose that the citizens know, they can find the address, they can, also look on the HCAD website and see who the property owner is. So I would like to see an article in the newsletter informing the citizens of what the rules are, just a basic overall, so they know that 3 strikes you're out. So they know who to report the address
I agree with that.
to. So, and if we could get that in the next newsletter and get that on our website, then people would willingly respond and help us do that legwork, and we can get those enforcements taken care of. So the website and the newsletter.
To add on to what you're saying is to have a distinct contact that they call,
Yes.
so that it's one person all the time with a number and contact, so that citizens can volunteer and help.
Right.
I think it's a great
idea. I'd like to at least recognize that Abrams, you have a registered city SDR. They've all.
Yes, so that's not.
No,
And I've not received a single complaint in my back.
No, I
agree. I just want to recognize.
I agree.
I want to
And
recognize
these
that
people aren't,
for the record.
right? And you're doing all the right things, and these people are not doing the right things.
That's the
And so we're not
conversation we had
upholding the law, right?
at
I
coffee.
think that was a really valid point.
It's the corporate ones that don't have owner occupation at all that are a real problem. They really are. Not the people who own their house, who are either have something in their backyard or only do it for a month here or whatever and live in the house. Those have generally been the very community oriented SDRs.
And actually, the biggest problem, there's more apartments than there are in houses. There's like 20 apartments up there, and like I said, I stayed in one. There was no fire extinguisher, there's no fire extinguisher.
So
all that.
I've heard this boil down into 2 things: is that we're going to have more of a concrete plan for review, July 10th, I believe is, and second is, and I'll offer my letter to from the mayor, is just to have in the compass rose the information about our restrictions and basically if there is a question whether an STR is registered or not, we have a defined central, person that people can call in order for that to be investigated.
And
whether they're registered or not.
And on the information on the website.
And on the website. I think those are really good suggestions. Anything more? Because I want to move on. We're coming into 9 o'clock. Anything else here? Okay.
Thank you.
Discussion and action, the appointment to the Parks and Recreation Committee.
Yeah, we have one vacancy on the Parks and Recreation Committee I talked briefly about. The person who had applied. I had other people that applied, but then they decided they didn't want to do the commitment. He's actually showed up for the last 3 meetings. He lives on River Lane in Jack Cronin. And he, like I said, wanted to lead up the effort to build that fireman's park out there on Leeward and West Indies. And he did be like the group kind of chairman there, like subcommittee there that he can help organize with all the neighbors in terms of what kind of things they would like to see there. So he's cooperating with the community as well. He's also helping out with the Astros event. So I'd like to make a motion to nominate Jack Cronin to fill the vacant spot number 12 on the Parks and Recreation.
I'll second that.
Second by Chase. Any questions here? Because I know there was some discussion here. I think if you look in your packet, even though we've had cyber, there is a full delineation to the committee members who are part of this. The 11 of the 12 was the one vacant position, which I remember, Michelle, was from Gail Nelson, had resigned. And also what, if I remember, if I look at this, is your nominee is somebody relatively new, young family that is not participating on any other committee.
He's also a voter.
And this
so
is, but
you
this
want to
is,
contribute to that as well, like what we're doing with some voting things around there.
but he's new to the neighborhood. He's a young family, and he is this is his only appointment, and it's somebody new getting involved in the city.
Yes.
Is that a fair
That's a fair
description?
assessment.
Go ahead.
I appreciate the information that we got of the committee list. I know the hack has been causing havoc in the city, so I appreciate the fact that we got the list. I also want to make us aware that, which I wasn't aware of, that in August and September, we will be looking at all committees and the parties that will be leaving the committees. So in my mind, the bigger solution for the dissension in the committees, the dissension about the committees and how they get on, how they're selected, will be addressed in August and September when we review everything. But prior to that, I think that we really need a process in place that we can put in the newsletter so that when August comes, we will have a clear indication of who's on committees, their term limitations, who's going off committees, and the process for applying to those committees. So I would be willing to support this motion, knowing that sometime before August, when the committees really start to change, we will get a process in place and a list of committee membership and committee membership termination and that kind of information that the newbies don't have and maybe the oldies don't have. But again, I feel like
you're the new. You're right as a newbie. If you don't mind me interrupting, go ahead, finish.
I feel like leaving a vacant position at the last minute is a difficult situation. I'm certainly glad to hear the person is newer, doesn't serve on another committee. Those were complaints that were certainly addressed in the election process. And I'm also appreciative of the names that we got today that are serving on that committee. So I certainly can move forward supporting this, provided that we're really going to get out there ahead of the August deadline and get the information to the public. Again, the website, the newsletter.
Just to be clear, there's that August-September timeframe is not for all committees. There's a stagger from between August to, I think, January, where the natural 1 year, or I should say 2 years that are staggered, so it happens at the same time every year. For the different committees, it could be up to 3 to 6 people that would need to be done. I think that's what you're talking about.
Right. And also, Paul, if I may, just so you know, that the Parks Committee is very intensive. It takes up a lot of time. And so, there is, I realize this list, there's going to be another person coming up also that we'll have to replace that's not on here. But anyway, we need to wait for the hack to be right. But the reason why I'm bringing him on now is because he's already been to 3 meetings. I don't want to lose somebody because I've been asking since I've been up here for a year, every single meeting, please come to the meetings, please join. I've gone out and asked people to apply. You really want to grab a person when they're willing to do this because it is time consuming. We need people who can dig shovels, who can cut bushes, who can, and he's all willing to do this, take care of a baseball field, that kind of thing. And that's another reason why I'm trying to bring it forward now.
I mean, I think I heard you say you support that. All I'm saying is, as a newbie, your phrase, not mine, even though I like it, is, you should have an onboarding packet that should have all the committees defined, all the staff members defined, who's there, just some of the fundamentals of, City of Nassau Bay 101. And you don't have that. It's gonna be very difficult in a real short time to put that together with a cyber attack, because a lot of those are digital. But you should, as a newbie, have, received that packet for tonight even, but it's not available. And I think that's oldies have had information like that. Newbies have not.
If I may, I just want to say that, this was a part of what, I know Paula did and I ran on as well in the election, was wanting to have clarification on all the committees that exist, who is on those committees, what their terms are, when those terms expire. Also, there are certain issues with committees, Parks Committee in particular, there's a, issue that we don't have an ordinance that sets forth the duties, composition, and terms of the Parks and Recreation Committee as required by the charter in 4.06. So there's certain things that need to be kind of cleaned up and tightened up. And also, I remember Paula saying this when she was running, was it would be really nice if we had on the website, on the city website, a list of committees, the committee members.
Used to have it.
Right, and
Used to have
even when their terms expire, and also inviting citizens to apply. Actually, when I wanted to get on the Parks Committee, I had to ask people how I did that. What do I do? And I just thought I could tell someone, and they would, and they said, oh no, there's a whole formal application process. And actually, my application sat there for some time before it was considered. But I would like to know that information I just listed, the names of the people, the terms expiration, when they expire, as well as who has applied for any of these things, especially with charter review, which is coming up.
I get that, but I think James is gonna, that has been published more than once because we wanted to make sure that's out.
We did, and sorry,
Yeah.
point of clarity real quick. There's two things here. One, we are voting on someone who we already had a motion for someone to be put on.
And a second.
The second piece of it, which I agree with you, Sarah, is that the charter committees, not all of the committees are charter committees. Some of them are by resolution, that like, which don't have that rigidity like we talked about, having those terms in there. So I think that with this upcoming review, because of what the state's done, it gives us opportunity to revisit that and then have you here with us to do that.
Can I ask that discussion be under the charter review? Because you and I had a very lengthy discussion today around, there are charter committees, advisory committees, and ad hoc committees. And we only have, of all our committees, we only have 2 that are chartered. The rest are all done by two.
It's inside one of the ones. It's either
No, that's the advisory. There's only 2 chartered. But anyways, my point is if you asked everybody there, whether it's chartered or advisory or ad hoc and the rules between those, nobody would get it right. And quite honestly, it's too complex that it should be simplified part of a charter in the base case. Personal opinion, but that's for the next one. What I'd like to do though.
He sounds great. I just, it's for me, it's kind of more of I just want to make sure that everyone that's applied for these, and it sounds like Michelle Singer hasn't been any applications for.
If there was new ones, they probably got hurt but I asked for that.
And that's why Tina is saying she's not able to, I requested this information on May 18th and she said, I don't have this stuff. I was accumulating that information and then I'm not able to.
Yeah, however, though, in the past, we always, you will get this, we got it, the list, right, we got on council, we got the list and everything on committees.
And we publish.
Every single time there's an appointment, you get a packet with all the applications in it.
Yep.
So that does happen regularly, and I'm assuming once we get the whole system set up again, that will start happening regularly. We'll see.
But I'd like to,
yeah,
I'm already, hang on. Yeah, I would like to move the agenda to there's been a motion and a second.
Can I make one quick comment?
Sure.
If people want to volunteer, show up to the meetings, because I know there are some committees that would love some volunteers right now. So, there are opportunities out there, and it's not just about putting an application in the system. If nobody knows who you are, we get redacted applications. You need to go out there and say, hey, I'm interested in doing this committee. What can I do? Or just show up to the meetings. If you want to
And
volunteer,
they will
special
show
events,
up
let me
and
know.
I'll reach out to them and, they won't reply. So, yeah, I do have, there is on the webpage, there is applications for the Parks Committee and other committees, but I do agree that we should probably start putting it in the Compass Road.
So, So I'd like to move the agenda forward. We have a motion and a second. Any other final questions or anything along that line? Then I call for the vote. All those in favor of elevating Jack? Passes 7-0. Good discussion, folks, even though it's 9:10. Update city manager search, and I'll take that one. For the citizens out in the audience, the citizens out in the cyber world, and for the newbies, I think the oldies know most of this, not all of it. But we started out with 52 candidates, 53 candidates for a permanent city manager. On May 22nd, that was cut from 52 to 13. And I believe of that list of 13 for the first cut, 3 have withdrawn. They've either taken another city manager position already, or just had other issues to reconsider. And then 2 did not meet our deadline for consideration, so they were delinquent and are still delinquent to this date, if my facts are right. Which means we have 8 candidates that are remaining from a variety of different places, and the selection committee is meeting tomorrow, and Cheney says we should get to 2 or 3. I'd like to get to at least 3, if not 4, just because I like making sure we only have to do this once. And but we will be meeting as a group tomorrow at 5 o'clock, and from there we should have the candidate list for personal interviews for everybody here on council. And the intent is, and the last I heard, even though we're going to reaffirm that tomorrow, that the dates of the 5th, 6th, and the 7th are going to be the dates whereby we will have the availability to interview these candidates, and they will be done. And Cheney has a schedule where we'll do it both as a group as well as having individual access. So from that standpoint, we'll be doing that. The staff will have access to be able to interview the candidates. And I even if we can fit in the timing, I would really like to have some community members have access to be able to have input to the process, and that would lead to a culmination of inputs where we would finally make a decision as to the first and second candidates on the city council meeting of July 10th. And I would be asking for authorization for myself, and probably help with staff, Chief Cromie or Brad, to be able to look at entering into a contract and binding that based off the decision of council. Okay. That's where we're at with that. Any questions, any comments, Paul?
For the dates of the interview, do you want us to send you our dates that were available or not available? First question. And the second question, when will we get the candidate information? Is
So
that tomorrow?
my bet is maybe day after tomorrow, but
Okay.
Lynn and Cheney are all over this.
Okay.
That once we get to that level, I want to get the information out, because I think which is I've been very insistent that I thought our process was too narrow last time, and I want to make sure everybody on council has that input. So you should be getting. My expectation would be, once we cut it to whatever the number is, 2, 3, or 4. I think it'll probably be 3, maybe 4, and you should have a resume. They've done video recordings. They've answered set questions. All the things there'll be a background check. There'll be all the different things, and all that information should be in everybody's hands.
And then once we get that information, that is confidential. We keep that.
There's no question. It's
Okay, just so we're clear, that it's confidential until.
There's no question it's there until we've defined it.
Okay,
Correct.
great. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
And I would like to make a comment that they did a really good job, and we have some really good candidates. I think you guys will be really happy with them.
Okay.
Well, briefly, you mentioned that community members would be able to speak with them.
I would like to. Right now, I gotta look at scheduling and whether we have an opening, but that is my intent. Yes.
What would you envision that looking like?
A party at the mayor's house where everybody can come and meet him socially or her socially, and just say, "Hey, come for a 4-hour meeting," and or what? And don't hold me because my wife knows nothing about this. You know, but I mean that's what I would suggest is something like that we would open it up, and anybody who would anybody who would want to meet a potential candidate could. Okay. Anything else? Discussion establishing a charter review committee. I'm very even more convinced that we need to do this. I think there's a number of items we talked about committees here that maybe old, obsolete, or the process old and obsolete. I know of some very specific things that Dick has pointed out in the charter, which are old, and I believe we need to move forward and looking at setting that up early for the ones on council and the people in the audience and online. We're required every 5 years to do a charter review of our and set up a committee in order to be able to review our charter. We're not required to do that until next year, and I believe there are too many things that need to be done. And the feedback that I've gotten from some people on council is, there are things that may be done by chartering, but there may also be some things that we do by resolution. But all clearing up some ambiguity, errors, and process for a variety of things. So what I would ask of this group, because I think I was maybe premature when I did this last month, because I wanted to get input from some of the oldies going out, but I also wanted to, as you can see, I've had no action because I really wanted to input the newbies coming in. Is I would ask you to think very hard around candidates for this committee. I believe that 7 people. And I believe it cannot be a council person. It cannot. It has to be somebody off council. And I'd like to have this to where we get this into Zena's hands so that we can start tabulating a group based off the input. And I offer either from people here or people who are online. If you're interested on this, please contact me, contact anybody on council or staff just to be able to throw your hat in the ring. But I really believe that some of the confusion is because people have views as to what the rules are when nobody knows what the rules are, and some of them are even illegal. So
sorry, just a point of clarity too. I think it's very important to state that with this legislative session is still somewhat going on. The substantive changes to municipal law is being pushed down from the state legislature, and that will impact several provisions inside of our charter, which we need to remedy so that this can be, we can still continue being a home rule city. And so I would, just my views and my personal views here, I see the utmost importance, particularly with this change coming from the state level. We address that rather quickly.
Yeah, I agree. Anyways,
Mr. Mayor,
yeah, sure.
I was just going to say, I feel like, it would be really good to, and I can make a motion. If you'd like,
No, there's no action on this. This is
Okay.
only for discussion. This is wide open discussion.
Okay, so I'm just going to discuss. I just want to say, I think it would be good if we maybe publicize on the website that we are seeking applications from citizens of Nassau Bay And then that way we can really look at
I
all the
agree.
applications, everyone's
I agree.
experience in education, and really bring in a kind of a well-rounded charter
So,
committee.
Hannah, can we have that as the
Yeah,
compass
sure.
rose?
So there's been a few different website lists requested for change and, on different pages and updated information. I'll be happy to do that. I'm still learning the Civic Plus and try not to ruin anything that was already up there. So please, if you would just shoot me an email with that request. My name is spelled like shown on the thing, Hannah.Lowry@NassauBay.com. Please just put that in writing so I can get to that. That'd be great.
Mr. Mayor, I echo Councilmember Horton's view on this, but I want to stipulate that this is official city business and that it is put up on and only on the city website.
Well, the compass rose is done by here. That would be
That's done
official.
by the city,
Yeah,
correct?
correct.
So what I'm requesting is that it goes up on the city website, Compass Rose.
No Facebook.
Yes, no Facebook, no Nextdoor, none of the social media trends, so no.
And of course, nobody's going to take copies of that and put it on Facebook. I mean, nobody's going to do that. Anyways, go ahead. Any other comments?
I guess I didn't realize this, so I guess the information should be shared. The charter review final has to be voted on by the whole city. And it's a very long process.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that there is an opportunity to create some resolutions to shorten the process. So I would like to suggest that if there are resolutions that can be created that comply with legal or timelines or whatever, that we move forward with the resolutions. And then when we have the charter committee meet, then we just sent them some direction. In other words, I don't want to wait 2 years
I don't
to
either.
make a legal change in the charter.
Just to go here, so the rules are that any change to our charter must be part of the election cycle. And so that would be, I'm just gonna make, I don't know when the first Tuesday or first Saturday now it is in May.
Well, May and then November.
So yeah, the first opportunity we would have would be May 6th or whatever the first Saturday is. And we're already behind the time to be able to get that done. So the next opportunity would be in November. And the sooner we get this done, the better. I would be open, and again, I would be very interested to hear individual council members' views as to which topics they would like to see maybe done by resolution. I think some of them are going to be self-evident, others may be, but we should really think about that so that there's consensus, because these are important topics that we need to have good consensus in order to be able to codify it as the basis for what may be a charter addition down the road, if that makes sense. Okay. That's all I had. Any other questions here?
Well, and my other concern is that, if we are putting these people on this committee next,
It's right now, it's only as discussion. I think we do this when we're prepared to do it.
so it doesn't have to be in July.
It does not. I'm just saying, we need to put horsepower behind this if we want to do it. And it's not a simple thing.
I was gonna say, we
So
need to get
I'm more,
applications in, we need to get.
well, not only that, I think we as a council member, if there's something I would request, is people should understand the process for, how you create the committee, as well as, the requirements of the committee and the requirements of council after that, because you'll see it's not an easy process. And I would highly recommend people get knowledgeable of that, because it's time early. Okay.
Next time.
Any else? Because I'd like to move forward, because the next is going into executive session. Anything else on that? Then I'm moving in, sorry, folks, but that does there, where the next item is 9.12, the discussion action in the city of Nassau Bay network security, possibly the executive session pursuant to 551.089-551.086, security devices or security audits. That's, right now, I am not going to do 9.12. And the time is 9:25.
Whatever. It'll be fine.
We get a 5-minute break. Can we get a 5-minute break? Mayor.